Yes, yes, yo. It's another Saturday night. Therefore, another Saturday night. Shoot the breeze. I want to thank everyone in advance who will be attending tonight. Those of you who will be on the panel, those of you who will be in the chat. I want to thank those of you also who will be listening during the playback. Many of you do tune in during the playback. We just don't hear from you guys. Be nice to hear from you guys. The Pro Black Perspective is out there. You type one. Let me know that I'm being heard over the digital airwaves of YouTube. Yeah, so you guys who listen to the playback, drop some comments after you listen to the show. It'll be nice to get some feedback as to how do you as to how you felt the conversations went. Um, you know what 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 direction you agreed with, whose thoughts resonated with you the most. So, make sure to drop some comments. Those of you in the chat tonight, make sure you guys are commenting and providing follow up questions and things of that nature. Let's have a good time and a good conversation. On the Pro Black Perspective, I don't know if they'll be joining us tonight because they are on the continent again, as he mentioned last week. So not sure if he'll be here because of the internet stuff down there, but do welcome him and anyone else who wants to join the panel tonight. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. Just click the link that says panel, and you too can join the panel and have your voice heard, have your thoughts expressed. I also want to point out to hit the Cash App. I got to sound like Bakari now. Hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal. Donations are welcome. Donations are welcome and are appreciated. Hopefully we can build something even greater here, not just at the Bitter Medicine podcast, but on KWAZ Radio, period. Funding is needed to make things happen, so please do help us with some funding. With all of that said, let's talk about what we have in store tonight. Last week, we only got through 3 of 5 topics, so I'm bringing back 2 of those that we didn't do last week. One of them is, are we killing each other because it is profitable to Europeans? Another one that we're bringing back is concerning the upcoming elections in the US of A. Is the fix in no matter what? New topics tonight is, why are all these fake black people running on the I'm black and I'm the first black woman, but yet allowing the gentrification of black neighborhoods? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to, in honor, in some ways, of Cam Javers joining us last week. And you guys are in contact with Cam Javers. Let him know we'll be discussing his topic tonight. What exactly is a Bantu versus a Negritic speaker? What do these terms mean in reality? They are linguistic titles. Lastly, if time allows us to get to it, we're going to discuss tribalism. Tribalism can be combated with a thorough educational system all over Africa. Those are the intended topics for tonight. What I'm going to do now is start the show officially. In the meantime, I'd like you guys to hit the like button, vote on the poll that's put up on the chat. Hit the like button, share the episode to your social media. Don't be afraid for other black folks to know what you are doing on a Saturday night. So share the link. Share the link on your social media. That's one of the things I notice when I look at the analytics. We never have people coming from like social media sites. It's always YouTube search or YouTube membership or something like that. So share the episode with your folks. All right, what we'll do now is start the show officially. On the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all of my panelists. So please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-Black perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another edition of Shoot the Breeze, a segment that we do here at the Bitter Medicine Podcast. It's pretty much the only segment I do these days, but I'll be back once I get things settled elsewhere. I'll be back to do some more segments during the week. Right now, I don't have any panelists with me, but that's fine. If that continues, it'll be a short show tonight. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to just get right into it and drop Shoot the Breeze topic number one. Shoot the Breeze topic number one says, are we killing each other because it is profitable to Europeans, or is it deeper than this? This came with a link that's taken us to X or Twitter. Let me share my screen with you guys. While I do that, I guess let me introduce the brother Oni, who has joined us now. Oni, how are you this week?
I'm cool. Like you said, back on the continent. So just chilling like a villain. I don't know what's going on my computer, but it wasn't reading my microphone for some reason. So I'm on my phone. Hopefully that's not too bad.
Nah, your phone's coming in crystal clear, real clear. So that's appreciated. Let me finish sharing my screen with you guys. This is going to take us to Twitter, to Shango's Wrath. It says, when we stop killing each other is the caption. The video is 1:20. I might play it twice, give some people time to join the panel, etc. So let's take a listen.
That's real. Listen, man, when we start cleaning up our communities, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company. That's real. Listen, man, when we start cleaning up our communities, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies is going to lose money, right? And they feed their families off of us killing each other. They send their children to school off of us killing each other. They live in mansions and drive on yachts off of us killing each other. The ambulance, the police officers, the pharmaceutical industry. When you get shot up and you got to take them perks and them pills, that's money. You see what I'm saying? That they losing when we stop killing each other. The ride to the ambulance, you get a hospital bill for that. They start losing money when we stop killing each other. You understand what I'm saying? The obituaries, funeral homes, they start losing money. The lawyers that we paying millions of dollars to get us off this case, they start losing money when we stop killing each other. So you don't think it's somebody that's sitting in the back responsible for making sure that we keep killing each other so that they can keep eating? When you go to prison, each inmate, they make money, bro, off of the inmates up in there. They make money off of our free labor in prison, building stuff for them. You see what I'm saying? So you don't think it's people out here that's like, no, let me promote this rapper talking about sliding on the ops. Let me promote you trolling these brothers for somebody that you done killed. Because the more you incite them to murder and kill, the more we eat.
That's well stated. Let me play it one more again so that hopefully more people have joined the chat, drop their comments, more people have joined the panel and drop their comments as well. Let's play it again. But this is I think a sound response in his interview. I'll play it again.
So that's real. Listen, man, when we start cleaning up our communities, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies is going to lose money, right? And they feed their families off of us killing each other. They send their children to school off of us killing each other. They live in mansions and drive on yachts off of us killing each other. The ambulance, the police officers, the pharmaceutical industry. When you get shot up and you got to take them perks and them pills, that's money. You see what I'm saying? That they losing when we stop killing each other. The ride to the ambulance, you get a hospital bill for that. They start losing money when we stop killing each other. You understand what I'm saying? The obituaries, the funeral homes, they start losing money. The lawyers that we paying millions of dollars to get us off this case, they start losing money when we stop killing each other. So you don't think it's somebody that's sitting in the back responsible for making sure that we keep killing each other so that they can keep eating? When you go to prison, each inmate, they make money, bro, off of the inmates up in there. They make money off of our free labor in prison, building stuff for them. You see what I'm saying? So you don't think it's people out here that's like, no, let me promote this rapper talking about sliding on the ops. Let me promote you trolling these brothers for somebody that you done killed. Because the more you incite them to murder and kill, the more we eat.
Yeah, well said. In the chat, Trigger Happy has some thoughts. He says, I would like to know what deeper, quote unquote, deeper is. We'll see if it's deeper than that. He says it seems pretty clear that if a group is killing each other and they have corrupt leaders, they are being exploited some way, somehow. When a group kills each other, they are disorganized. I recently was learning about tribalism in Papua New Guinea. They have some of the most corrupt leaders on the planet. He says, lastly, he says, Africa has a lot of tribalism. We are also exploited. Afro-Native World's out there saying Hotep and the BB Toomey. Appreciate you guys for joining us, being here tonight. Right now, it's just Oni and I. So the more participation from the chat, the better for us. So let us know your thoughts. With that said, I guess I should speak on it first. You know, I had a bit of a revelation recently as well. For a long time, I agreed with the notion that, you know, buying up the block in the hood was the thing to do. But then I realized something. If the mentality of the folks in the hood is still what it is, it don't even make sense buying up that block. It makes more sense putting that money or those monies into fixing the mindset of the people. Introducing programs to get the children involved, rec centers, African-centered rec centers, and African-centered libraries and reading rooms, and things of that nature for better socialization skills and stuff like that. Buying the block is just going to be a burden because the mentality is messed up, and you're going to end up selling it probably back to the investors who are not us anyway. We really got to get to the minds of our people. And what this brother is talking about in this video, to me, it's just plenty sense, if not common sense. They promote this stuff. The youth in particular internalize it. And it's not just youth. There's some old dudes out here talking about running down on ops. One of the things I noticed with the Umars of the world and Tariqs of the world, they like to talk about the street stuff. I've talked about this before at length. They like to talk about street stuff, how they F with the street so heavy. And I even hear them sometimes using these terms like ops. Like, why are you a grown 50-year-old man talking about some ops? But it's the language of the youth. they're using the language of the youth. And so if they're using the language of the youth, it tells you that this rhetoric and these activities behind this rhetoric is useful, but not useful to us, or is useful to the grifter who's trying to play off the mind of the ignorant. And this is why we have to have folks like us around here, those of you in the chat, those of you on the panel. This is why we have to have folks out here, and you got to push. You got to throw the rock, as Buana would say. You got to throw the rock. You have to try to change a mind or two in your lifetime, because this is not going to help us. Now, the problem is that, especially in America, their propaganda machine is so powerful, right? You're going to have to really get organized in how you go about with a propaganda of your own. But I think it can be done. It just requires people to get active. The first thing about being organized is just getting friggin' active, man. A lot of us just aren't active. We're just not doing anything. We're standing around. We're having conversations here and there. We're listening to conversations here and there. But we ourselves are not coming together and saying, yo, man, let's me and you put together some reading materials for these kids. Let's do some children's content. Let's do, you know what I mean? Let's do certain things. Let's a group of us go out and create a rec center type situation. You know, we're just not doing it. And so this messaging that's being pushed in the music, in the arts, is what's dominant in our societies, and it's really destroying us from within. I said a lot there, but let me welcome in our brother Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. Did you see this video that I just played?
I did. I was watching the video, and
Okay.
I did see it. So I'm up to speed. So yeah, I think he's correct. It is black dysfunction, not just killing each other, but just overall black dysfunction is very profitable for the powers that be, right? They they make money off of our images, and even when black people aren't dysfunctional, they're going to push the narrative that we are. But then when we are, again, they make money off of it through our images, through the music, because we don't have any control of our images, because we are oppressed people. So yeah, I do believe he's definitely correct about that. As far as what can we do, um, you're right about the way the ideology has to be set up. And one thing I remember Dr. Bobby E. Wright mentioned something about um, street smarts, and he said one of the most prevailing myths is that street sense is positive. What's really being inferred is that whites do not control the streets in the black community or the behavior of blacks on the streets, but this is untrue. Whites have more control, or at least must control, over the brothers and sisters in the streets. And he says that street sense generally prepares blacks to deal with one another in very destructive ways, and then whites wipe out the winners. And I think that's kind of what the dude is saying. Like this so-called, want to be in the hood type idea is just another form of mental societal programming. And that goes for black people in the academy, but also in the streets as well. But yeah, I really didn't disagree with anything what he was saying, because it is very beneficial. And even with the music. So, for example, after a certain amount of money, it's not black people consuming it. So most hip hop, most rap music is not bought by black people. It's bought by white people. And I think the music, the images in the music and the way the lyrics and whatnot corresponds with the fact that we're not the majority of the people who buy it. White people are. And what do they want to hear when they see black people doing music? And I think the artists cater their music taste to what the dominant society thinks black people should behave. So I'll leave it there, Coco. I'll let Oni speak. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. And again, thanks for coming through as well. Oni, Are we killing each other because it's profitable to Europeans, or is it deeper than that? Can it be deeper than that? Go ahead, on it.
You know what? Damn, I just remember that. It's 3 a.m. I'm actually I remember I had something deep to say about this. But well, I don't know. But are we killing each other because it is profitable? I mean, I think, well, that's what I'm saying. I think part of this is we shouldn't, like, I think we tend to look at it like we're the damn main characters. You know? I think to some degree these are social services that we're using unnecessarily. And I think sometimes we're pointing the finger outside of us. Not saying that, nobody is doing anything, but I think sometimes we are pointing the finger outside of us a little too much, you know? And I don't know if this would discourage somebody from, injuring somebody else because they figure, oh well, the ambulance, I don't want the ambulance company to profit from me. But I don't necessarily see um damn. I don't necessarily see, I mean, I don't actually get why people um frame it in this way, you know? Um as in I think that I think it is deeper. I think well, the way how I would look at it is that I think people, like generally speaking, people with a lack of means or with a lack of economics, or even I'll put it this way. In fact, I think it was when I was younger, I was pretty interested in this quote from Plato, I guess, where he was saying that the people who did crime were either the very rich or the very poor. You know, like if you were on one of those economic extremes, you were more probable to do some sort of crime. And I think, um, black people generally, well, not really, but a lot of black people who are at least participating in crime, um, like they might find themselves on the lower end of the economic spectrum, just the same as a lot of the worst white people on the planet are those who find themselves on the higher, you know, portion of the economic spectrum. But I don't think that I would necessarily, um, I guess, racialize this, you know, in so much as, like I said, this is like something you could read in Plato, you know. Um, Really, I think Black people, we have to get together and try to form an economy. And instead of, let's say, pointing the finger at, or try to develop our own independent economies, right? Or try to develop our economies that need development. Like I said, like here I am on the continent of Africa. That's the kind of like that's the position that I want to be in. And I think if I contribute to this economy, you know, less would there'll be less negative things. But as far as, well, I think it's because this white man wants, like, yeah, okay, but I see crime here in Tanzania. You know what I mean? Like where the white people could hardly communicate with black people here. I even see negative music in Tanzania. I see women. We've all seen videos, right? We've all seen it. Women just dancing in the freaking streets. I didn't know that was in Tanzania, but that. I mean, I haven't seen that in person, but it is a thing. Um, and this isn't a country that has a huge white preference or a continuous white preference, your presence. Like you could say, well, in South Africa it's a continuous white presence. You could say, obviously, in America it's a continuous white presence. But in Nigeria you could go either way. But for Tanzania, it's like white people hardly speak Swahili, like hardly. Um, and yet the Swahili music is some raunchy stuff. So the point I'm making is that, yeah, I think that sometimes we have to like step back and say to ourselves, well, what would honestly, what would really improve us as a people is if we had the economic, wherewithal to actually provide for our people, to provide alternatives. Because, um, you know, here in Tanzania, there's like some theft of some, minor thing. I don't want to say to give too much detail, but people are stealing this minor thing that you probably sell for uh, $8 or something, right? Or $6. And the only reason why somebody would steal something that's worth $6 is if they needed $6. And that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that, Oni, but I'll ask you to, if you can, walk me through where the economy or the building of an economy prevents the quote unquote raunchy lyrics. What I'm trying to say is, why is the default raunchy music? Why is the default, because you're poor or broke, which I don't subscribe to, by the way. Why is it raunchy? Why is it violent? Right? I hear what you said about Plato, but again, why is it in the music just by default? I'm not getting that part. Can you explain that to me?
Oh wait, why? Well, that's the thing too. It's like, um, well, again, so one thing I want to remind people is that it is 3 a.m. So I don't know. But what I want to say is, here's the thing about raunchy music. Well, it depends on what you mean by raunchy music and killing music. But, you know, see, I tend to look at, I mean, I shouldn't say this to you because, whatever. But I tend to look at things like from a biology perspective, right? You're like, right? Whatever. But I tend to look at this from a biology perspective. And what I'm saying is that, like, biologically, I feel like, or evolutionarily, I feel like humans have always had, or have long had raunchy and violent music. You know what I mean? Like if you go back in, anthropology or what have you, if they were not, dancing naked and, just celebrating life and, sex and family, they were probably, dancing with warrior gear and so on and so forth. So I don't know, like it's possible that we just don't like we are opposed to raunchy and violent music just because we're Christianized. You know what I mean? Just because we're westernized. And so for that reason, I don't even know if it's actually a bad thing to like another way I'm looking at it too is, recently I think I just finished reading propaganda, and what was interesting was in the last few paragraphs, like maybe like the second to last or third to last paragraph, he tells us that, no matter how informed the people will be, they can't resist propaganda for four things, right? And that was food, amusements, beauty, and leadership, right? And it's that amusement part, like unfortunately, like for what it's worth, sex and violence are probably, I don't want to say instinctively, but probably, well, actually, yeah, sex obviously instinctively interesting, instinctively amusing, and so you'll never really get rid of that. But as far as why poor people are engaging it for this, this type of economy, it's because it pays well. Obviously, like I mean, not, I shouldn't say opposite, but you know what I mean. Like it pays well, or it's a means, like yeah, it's just a means to an end if the economy is not providing better opportunities, And I think one of the like another interesting book that I kind of enjoyed was this Wealth of Nations, where the most interesting, like he made this really interesting observation because this is a writer in the middle of Europe, who's talking about, you know, economics before America was even a country, right? And what he's saying is that nobody wants to be an opera singer because it would be shameful to be an opera singer. But the reason why some people are opera singers is because it pays a lot of money, right? And obviously it's like, who cares? It's, whatever year he wrote that, 17, whatever, right? But then you extrapolate it to, modern day, right? And you say, well, yeah, who wants to be a freaking rapper, right? Kind of. But the reason why you'd be a rapper is because it pays a lot of money. Now, is it shameful to sing for a living? I wouldn't necessarily put shameful, but maybe, right? And most people just sing, right? They don't necessarily do it for a living. But he points out, yeah, people will do that. And what it comes down to, I would point out, is that yeah, there's a lot of things that people do for money, and they do it for money because their options for money are otherwise limited, and their options for money are not even being provided by us. So um, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about the Manny Marable Malcolm X controversy, and I think my friend was saying, yeah, people know that Malcolm Little, Malcolm Red, I think, I can't remember. No, Detroit Red, right? Might have definitely engaged in sex work, they say, right? And if nothing else, he writes in his autobiography how he was hanging out with sex workers, on a regular, right? But that's the thing. It's like, why is this man engaging in sex work? You know, it's because what else? Oh, why is this man engaging in crime? Right? It's because what else is he going to do to make his daily bread? Right? If he loses he says in his autobiography that Black people only had so many positions, so many jobs that they could do, either number running or working at the on the porters on the trains or whatever, right? And if you can't get that job as a porter, and I know he did at one point, and then he lost that job. But if you can't keep that job as a porter, what are you going to do to make your daily bread? And so it's crime, it's music, it's whatever these white people want you to do, but it's not what we want us to do. So if we had the opportunity to, if we were giving Black people better opportunities, they would take better opportunities. And if we gave them correct ways to keep them, assuming there's no mental illness, they'll try hard to keep those jobs. That's what I would say.
I appreciate that, Oni. Shout out to those people who joined us. Cheryl, haven't seen you in a long time. Afro Native World is out there. Trigger Happy 262 Plus. Daily Affirmations by Pauline is out there. And the brother Kofi is not only out there in the chat, but he's now up here on the panel. Kofi, how are you this week?
Doing good. I'm blessed. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through. Did you see the video here?
Yeah, I played it back and I saw it, and it's basically a conversation that's been happening since the dawn of hip hop, how it was being demonized, and I grew up in the '80s when it was pretty much from old school to what it is right now. It was demonized, because anything that's Black is demonized, right? And then you had the message came out, and they got into the lyrics of what it was about, and it was very relative. And then white people started taking on rap because wow, it's now mainstream. Seen this movie before. Black Americans make all the genres of American music, but the problem that we have, and I've been saying this forever, is our self-image in media. We are not proper stewards of our image in media, because we know if we start talking about the little hat people, we're going to be in trouble. We start talking about gay people, we're going to be in trouble, right? We don't have that how should I put it without offending ourselves. We don't care that much image, because we always will say, and I always hear this, oh, it's just entertainment. Oh, it's just TV. Oh, it's never just entertainment. It's never just TV, right? It's never that. So we have a very poor self-image issue. I mean, look what happened to I remember Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah Winfrey, when she first started her her talk show, she's like, well, I'm going to expose the KKK. And she had the KKK there, and you had, of course, everyone's up in a roar like, yeah, you guys are jerks, you guys are this, you guys are that. And as all this is happening, they had, while one of the KKK guys was talking, they had one white guy that was sitting there nodding his head, agreeing with them. So Oprah was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait. If this is being broadcast nationwide, okay, fine. If I got 100 audience members, I have like 99 and 98 of them saying the KKK is bad. So multiply that by 2. So you're really giving them free publicity, right? So she's like, no, I would never have these type of people on there again. Dave Chappelle, I'm not gonna, like, I mean, his I forgot the guy that he came with, the white guy, is racist or whatever, but it was his friend, right? But Dave Chappelle, after Dave Chappelle, the show was over. He was doing the skit with the what's it, the racist pixies, or the racist, whatever, right? And they was like, well, Dave, you can't say anything about being, you can't say the F word. He's like, why can't I say the F word? This is the one, the person that on the network on Comedy Central, the censor, right? Well, you can't say the F word, which is fag or whatever. I was like, why not? Okay. Oh, because you're not gay, Dave. If you were gay, we kind of like, we could kind of like let that go, right? But everything else is wonderful, Dave. Everything else is wonderful. What about the N word? I use the N word. Oh, no. That's fine. That's fine, David. That's totally fine. And he was like, wait. So I can't use the F word because I'm not gay, but I can use the N word because I'm a nigga. And she started feeling all uncomfortable, right? So these are examples that we have, that we're not good stewards of our of the art that we create. I mean, it all starts with it starts with us. It starts with us. It ends with us. So, and another thing that we're talking about as far as boycotting. We're not in this. I was on a panel with Brother Bakari the other day, and we're just talking about, hey, look, we're not the same generation as our forebears were in the 60s and the 50s, right? And I was on me and Bakari was on another channel, and the lady there kept saying, you're blaming us. You're blaming us. That's not what you mean. I'm not blaming you guys. I'm not blaming us. I'm saying we are not the same people. Right? We can't get black people to boycott shit nowadays. You can't. And that's just it is. And so talking about as far as like sexualization. Yes. Sexualization, sex is a part of the human species, is a part of who we are, right? In every society. No problem. The problem is, in this society, in America, black women are seen over sexualized, right? Anybody remember Sarah Bartman, right? Black women are always sexualized. Black men are always over sexualized, right? So we have, not to say that we can't show us being sexual people, that have a sexual nature, but we have to understand, once we're doing that in America, we can only go so hard. We can't go like there's no guardrails. We have to do it in a tasteful manner. You can do it in a raunchy manner, that's fine. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, if you just go nuts with the sexualization and all this other stuff, you're following certain tropes, right? So I think at the end of the day, we have to be responsible for ourselves and for the content that's put out there. But again, until black people stop seeing it as just entertainment, it's always going to be like this. We're going to have this conversation all the time. And now I yield the mic.
I appreciate that, Kofi, and thanks for coming through. As always, Buana, how are you this week?
Coco, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, how are you, brother? I hope everyone is well. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a few runs to make, but I didn't see this video, Coco. So
okay.
Maybe y'all might probably want to go on. Yeah.
No. The video is short. It's only 1 minute and 20 seconds. I'll play it again. Okay. I think someone in the chat didn't see it as well. I'll play it again, and then we'll get your thoughts. All right.
Oh, that's real. Listen, man, when we start cleaning up our communities, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies is going to lose money, right? And they feed their families off of us killing each other. They send their children to school off of us killing each other. They live in mansions and drive on yachts off of us killing each other. The ambulance, the police officers, the pharmaceutical industry. When you get shot up and you got to take them perks and them pills, that's money. You see what I'm saying? That they losing when we stop killing each other. The ride to the ambulance, you get a hospital bill for that. They start losing money when we stop killing each other. You understand what I'm saying? The obituaries, the funeral homes, they start losing money. The lawyers that we paying millions of dollars to get us off this case, they start losing money when we stop killing each other. So you don't think it's somebody that's sitting in the back responsible for making sure that we keep killing each other so that they can keep eating? When you go to prison, each inmate, they make money, bro, off of the inmates up in there. They make money off of our free labor in prison, building stuff for them. You see what I'm saying? So you don't think it's people out here that's like, no, let me promote this rapper talking about sliding on the ops. Let me promote you trolling these brothers for somebody that you done killed. Because the more you incite them to murder and kill, the more we eat.
That's real talk. If you look at Chicago, before I get to Buana, if you look at Chicago, that's what's going on in Chicago mostly, you know. It's mostly dudes taking out some dude, then they go write a song about it, and then there's retaliation. It's going on back and forth. I wish D Webb was here to kind of talk about that. But with that said, why are we killing each other because it is profitable to Europeans, or is it somehow deeper than that?
No, we are. I think that some black people are murdering one another. Because I ain't killed nobody. So some black people are murdering one another because of many different kinds of reasons. I think that some people, when they look in the mirror, they don't like what they see. And that is reflected on the people who look just like them, sometimes within their communities. They don't like what they see. And I think that there's a whole lot of self-hatred and jealousies and anger that exists within our community. I am very leery and careful when people say that people create traps for us that we so willfully fall into, as if we exercise no agency or thought processes for the things that we actively decide to do on a daily basis. Yes, Smith & Wesson has made guns. Yes, guns do harm and kill each other. But if you make the choice to buy the gun on the street, and you make the choice to pull that trigger, exercise that 300 pounds on that weapon in front of someone who looks like you are exercising agency. You are culpable. You could decide to buy that gun or not to. Yes, people are setting up. Yes, people profit off of the miseries and the ugliness within poor, disenfranchised, ignorant communities. Of course, Marcus Garvey always said that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. Now, whether that intelligence is a wicked one who sit back and plot and scheme, or whether that intelligence is a smart one or a good one who use their intelligence as a force for good. Intelligence rules the world, and ignorance is carried the burden of it. Now, if you remain to be within certain communities ignorant of the powers that be, of the world that exists around you, of to do certain things, you are going to have these kinds of results. To sit in prison for 30 and 40 and 50 years, it's not a badge of honor. It's not to be respected, because people they take their life force away. And they profit on your life force, because every time your mama go to the courthouse to see you, she have to give you money for your commissary. Just as the man was saying, you have to pay for a myriad of different things when the prison industrial complex houses you. People make money off of the miseries of the ignorant. So my thing is, don't put yourself in that position. Exercise greater and better agency. And he said, Buana, that's an easy thing to say for you to say. That's an easy thing for you to say. I'm like, man, if other people have the agency to do it, so do you. So do you. So do you. This thing now where there's this big bad European person who creating these little mouse traps, and you eventually have to fall into them, no matter what. To me, that is becoming a argument that I really can't. I don't know. I haven't a good thing of it anymore, because I think that it's possible for you to escape these little traps. These white these white people, these people who plot and plan for you to exist in a miserable state forever. I think it's possible for you to escape these things. Use your brain. Your brain is just not for you to soak it in alcohol and marijuana. It's actually for you to use it to be useful for you. If you was to use it and exercise it for that purpose, your brain could be your greatest liberator, but it could be your greatest imprisoner if you use it incorrectly. If you use it incorrectly, it can house you in some white man jail for the rest of your life. But if you use it correctly, it could free you. It could free you. You know what I mean? Make you boundless. So I think that the man have agency, and I think that we should be willful in using our own agency as well. This whole big bad white supremacist mind who's gonna do wicked thing. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Use your own brilliant divine mind as well. Use your divine mind as well. So that argument for me is just wearing thin. Maybe because I get older and crotchety, who knows, man. But that's what I think about that. Coco, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, Bonnie, as was said, you cook it. It's a good reminder too about, we need to be consistent in our thinking and our analysis as well. I think it was the first time Kofi came on the panel, actually. We had a conversation about the luxury of marijuana and stuff like that. And I remember Oni was saying, and I agreed with it too, that, people will say, well, folks will do it anyway. No, these other folks ain't doing it like that. And I think what Buana's hitting on is that same kind of sentiment that, you know what, these other folks ain't doing it to that clip, to that extent, whereas it's almost like a majority action in our community. This brother in the video that we watched, I mean, he's breaking down some real stuff, like if Black folks got it together, and as Buana just said, if we start to use our brains to find another way. If you got to go friggin' plant corn or something like that, find another way. If you got to go be a fisherman, go be a fisherman. Go be a carpenter or something. Go find another way, right? A lot of the people who benefit off of these dysfunction in our community their source will dry up. Or they'll have to move on to another group. Let them move on to the Hispanics or some shit like that. But we have to start using our head and have to start, we have to start figuring some things out. And that's why we gotta, number one, we gotta get our minds right through how we educate each other. And number two, we gotta get those educated minds organized together. Is there any last thoughts by anyone on the panel? All right. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. That was a real good discussion, guys. And the chat was good with that, too. Thanks to everyone who participated. Black Seal will be back in a few. You have to step off for a minute. In the meantime, Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, is the fix in no matter what? This is going to take us to YouTube, to a Middle Nation video called The Election Ritual, The Illusion of American Democracy. We're going to watch it, and then we'll discuss it.
I mean, divided in so many ways. It isn't just that the divides are deep, it's that the divides are so many. Black and white, race against race, advocates of this issue against opponents of this issue, even men against women and women against men. There isn't a single category within that society that doesn't have some corresponding nemesis. It's just divide and conquer, playing out domestically. And Democrats and Republicans is just another one of these divisions, because the country has been conquered by corporate economic imperialists. Look, I don't care who you vote for in November, because power doesn't care who you vote for in November. I've said it before. If you imagine that unelected power of the private sector is going to entrust the public with deciding how things are going to be run and who's going to run things, then you're living in a fantasy. It's absurd. America has subverted, sabotaged, and strangled democracies all around the world. They've been interfering with, tampering with, rigging elections across the globe for decades, from Haiti to Honduras, from Italy to Iran, from Syria to South Africa. They've toppled governments, assassinated elected officials, fixed elections, bribed and bullied and bulldozed democracies on every continent for a century. They don't think that any population in any country in the world can be trusted to elect leaders who will safeguard the interests of the American elite. So what makes you think that they're going to trust you with that power? They rig elections and install whoever they want in country after country, but somehow you think that they're not going to do that in your country. Well, how naive can you be? Listen, the election cycle in America is nothing but a mechanism for what you can call the campaign industrial complex, whereby billions upon billions of dollars of contributions, your money, are funneled into the private sector. I mean, when you donate to a politician or you donate to a candidate, where do you think that money goes? It goes directly to business. You're not doing anything but increase the revenue streams of consultancies, ad agencies, analytics firms, PR firms, media companies, social media companies, digital marketing agencies, events coordinators, on and on. This is nothing but the public providing basically an economic stimulus package to unproductive industries. It's a wealth transfer that you yourselves are participating in. You're literally just donating money to the private sector and getting nothing in return. Getting nothing in return except that you get to watch the most expensive fan fiction movie about democracy ever produced. I mean, look at the Democrats. Kamala Harris was just appointed as the nominee. She wasn't voted for. This is straight up succession, not election. There were no primaries. She hasn't had to outline her policy platform, and no one needs her to do that. All she has to do is to not be Donald Trump. This is the logic of demonization versus policy debate as a campaign strategy. No candidate has to win your approval as long as the whole election is framed in the lesser of two evils scenario. And what's the point of that? To make the pre-programmed win seem plausible, that's all. And to not leave any opening for dissent to manifest that might make the win seem implausible. Because, for instance, if voters actually have demands of this candidate or that candidate, and the candidate fails to address those demands, then it could cast doubt upon their eventual victory. And inevitably, if a candidate does address voter demands, well, that will always end up alienating some other faction of voters. So we don't talk about issues. We don't talk about how to deal with issues. We just rally behind our party's candidate in lockstep because the other party's candidate is literally the devil incarnate. When you're operating in the lesser of two evils framework, you're always going to have decidedly low expectations of your chosen candidate, and that's perfect when the election is already fraudulent in the first place. So this uncomplicates the rigging process. Yes, I said rigging, and don't think for a second, don't you imagine that that's a conspiracy theory, that the U.S. rigs elections. But between 1946 and 2000, America is documented to have interfered with, tampered with, malignly influenced or outright rigged at least 88 elections from Europe to Latin America to Asia to Africa. So again, if you think that they'll do this everywhere else, but your so-called democracy is pristine, I would have to ask you why you think so. Why would it be more important to the power structure to control the outcome of an election in, say, Guyana, than it would be for them to control the outcome of an election in the United States of America? Because yes, Guyana is one of the countries where America rigged elections in the past. I'm telling you, I don't care who you vote for, because power doesn't care who you vote for, because the outcome is not determined by you. You know, Biden stepped aside because his pre-programmed victory could never be convincing. But look, Biden himself, the fact of Biden, a man who is literally in late stage senility, a man who is visibly disintegrating before our eyes, the very fact that he was not only president, but was absolutely going to be run for another term, despite being a cadaver on strings, that should let you know that power does not reside in that office. Politicians serve two functions. The first is to distract you with the performance of democratic government, and the second is to be effigies that can be burned to satisfy public anger when the policies dictated by the private sector impose misery on the population. So when an American asks me, who should they vote for, or when they say that this one is better than that one, or at least not as bad as that one. And what do I think? And so on and so on and so on. Well, you may as well be asking me about which Marvel superhero is better than the other, because you're not talking to me about figures who have any real significance with regards to policy. You're not talking to me about figures who actually exert any control over anything. You're not talking about the real existing power structure. You're asking me to give you an opinion about a fictional scenario in which your government wields independent power. As long as you're fixated on this charade, there's no danger whatsoever of you ever having any impact on policy. You're just facilitating and collaborating with the divide and conquer tactics of the owners and controllers of global financialized capital. And I don't know how you can be so propagandized, to be honest. I don't know how you can be so propagandized that you can't even notice that actually your own media does tell you every day that the government is not in charge. I mean, how many times have you read or how many times have you heard in the media, the market will decide? We'll have to see what the market does and so on. But when they say the market, they don't mean you and I, they mean big business, multinational corporations, asset managers, stock market whales, not voters, not citizens, not Democrats, and not Republicans. You live in an oligarchy, and your so-called democracy is only performed as a distraction to keep you from noticing that fact. Now, for this election in the U.S., as I've said, Harris and Trump are just mascots representing two different factions of the OCGFC. And it's going to be just like what happened in Venezuela. The only way that Trump can win is by trying to outrig the election rigging of the Democrats. But the Democrats are the incumbents, like Maduro was. So they have the advantage of overseeing the succession, and Harris is likely to win. The only thing that Trump can do is to try to boost his own popularity to the point that Harris's pre-programmed victory looks less plausible. But like I said before, it's not musical chairs where both candidates are walking in circles around the chair until the music stops, and then they have to race for the seat. Kamala is already in the seat, just like Maduro, and it's harder to get someone out of that seat than it is to just sit in it. So it looks like the neocons will probably stay in the White House. And that just means that the real battle between the military-industrial complex OCGFC and the global-oriented OCGFC, that battle is just going to go on a while longer. But if you're fool enough to think that you have to drop everything in order to ensure that Kamala Harris will win and Trump will lose, well, then you're literally like someone who can watch those old Roadrunner cartoons and still get worried and anxious about whether or not the coyote is going to catch him. I mean, I know it's important for you to think that you have some kind of control, but the truth is, the reality is you're not writing this story, and you're not writing how this story goes. And as long as you think that you are writing how this story goes or participating in it in any way whatsoever, then that just ensures that you will always be nothing but a spectator. Unless and until you redirect your activism towards the private sector, and I mean organize and mobilize with the understanding that, for example, corporations are political entities. So treat them as such, deal with them as such, impose expectations and demands upon them as such. Unless and until you do that, all your get out the vote initiatives, all your campaigning, all your voting will never do anything for social and political change except to ensure that it won't happen. Boeing, for example, just used your government to make around $20 billion. Boeing, Raytheon, and all the other merchants of death and destruction. They just got $20 billion of your money to keep the genocide going in Gaza. That's their policy. Zionism is their policy. Genocide is their policy, and they're doing it for money. And they give almost evenly to the Democrats as they do to the Republicans, except they give slightly more to the Democrats. And it's almost even between what they give to Kamala Harris and to Donald Trump. They contributed a bit more to Harris. I shouldn't actually say contribute, I should say invest, because they give that money as an investment from which they expect astronomical returns, which they will get. These are the entities that control your policy. It's not your ballot, it's their billions. Your government is captured, and your country has been captured, and power and decision-making has been transferred from the public sector to the private sector. Your laws and your policies are written by corporate lawyers, not by congressmen. You know, your democracy has actually become like the British monarchy. It's just an empty tradition. You know, you go out to vote the same way that British people will go out and line the streets just to watch the king pass by on a horse and carriage. It's just a nod to the lore and heritage of your society. It's a ritual that has no real significance beyond the psychological and the emotional. It's a collective, society-wide, self-soothing gesture. America is a corporate authoritarian system cosplaying as a democracy. And everybody around the world sees you. You know, you people who are campaigning for Trump or campaigning for Harris, everyone around the world sees you as someone who's like at a cosplay event and dressed up like Iron Man, but who actually thinks that the buttons on his costume work. We have to elect Trump, or the meteor is going to destroy the earth. We have to elect Harris, or multi-dimensional aliens will kill us all. You're really invested in the fantasy storyline. But nobody in the world thinks that your democracy exists except for you. Because we know all too well what your democracy looks like when you export it to us. And you have the same one that you sent us, which means that you don't have one either. Look, you are not constituents of politicians, you're constituents of companies, and you need to organize yourselves along these lines. Democratize private sector power. At some point, your activism and your strategy has to actually be informed by the real existing power dynamics in your society, not just by the official version of the power structure that they taught you in civics class. Until you do that, I'm telling you that the harder you work for this party or the harder you work for that party, well, you're doing nothing but fortify and reinforce your own disenfranchisement and your own irrelevance.
I tend to like that guy when he speaks. Apparently, Provide Triggers for Evolution is a fan. She says, this is Shahid Bolson. She said, greetings to all, by the way. She says, I love this guy's commentaries, always dropping bombs. So thank you for being here, Provide Triggers for Evolution. By the way, if you guys aren't on the Discord yet, make sure you join the Discord. The link is in the description. Join the Discord. You can also post whatever topics you like to discuss on Shoot the Breeze as well. With that said, let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with Oni on this one. Oni, is the fix in no matter what? What would say you to that prompt in relation to the video that we just watched?
Yeah, I mean, the dude was cooking. But that's the thing about the reality about the world is that, you know, there's this book, I didn't read it, but there's a book called All Organization is Oligarchy, right? And I think the premise is that, you know, when an organization becomes large enough, it can't even function as a democracy logistically. America, like a long time ago, I don't know all these things. I just hear people speaking. And one of the things people said was they bring up the word Tammany Hall, right? And Tammany Hall apparently was some you know, the New York state machine in a sense, where I think he said something along the lines of, it doesn't matter who casts the vote, it matters who counts it, you know? And you know, one thing I picked up on, because I occasionally used to, you know, sit at the ballot box, if you will, right? One thing I picked up on was that the police gather the votes at the end of the day, you know? So who's counting the votes is, I'm not saying that people count or don't count. It's just the reality is that there are so many instances. Not just that. There's the people. Everybody knows about this. The Electoral College that was specifically designed to say, let's not have a democracy in America. So you have like no one truly believes that America is a democracy. It comes down to propaganda, really, where propaganda has you singing songs about how, oh, you're a democracy as opposed to, you know, whatever Cold War enemy you have. But the reality is that, again, the founding fathers of America had no intention of it ever being a democracy. You have people like Tammany Hall who's explaining to, you know, his kid, if you will, how voting is important. It's about who counts the vote. And then you have the reality, you know, like I said, some sociologist in the middle of like Italy or something is pointing out you can't even have democracy as a human species, just not logistically possible at this point in time. So yeah, and I think that this individual made an excellent point about how America's sabotaging every other election on the planet, and why the hell would they not sabotage their own? And I think people are not taking. Now, I'm not going to say that the parties don't mean anything, but what I'm going to say is that I think people don't take these parties seriously enough. These parties are fighting over power, real power. Even if we believe that there are billionaires behind the scene, absolutely there are billionaires, absolutely there are financiers. But these political parties are actually the you could say duopoly, sure, but they are actually the two political parties in charge of the affairs of America. And I mean, obviously they have, financial support from the outside, obviously. But that's not to say that they're not vying over something that is real, because or let's say really consequential. Because put it another way, none of us can write legislation for the United States of America. And if there's probably only 20 black people in the United States of America who can, and those would be the Congress people, right? The congressmen and women. And I believe that there was like no black senators or something like that, but like since Obama or something. Maybe there's maybe two more, I don't know. But my point being, yeah, I think yes, I think if you're starting out, you say, let me critique America based on the fact that they're not really a democracy. But the reality is that nobody should have been convinced that America was a democracy. No one should be convinced that democracy is a real political system that can be achieved. And moreover, I don't think and I think as far as the political parties are concerned, we have to really focus on the reality that these are the two political parties of the United States. Okay, the United States. These are the two political parties. These are the two lawmakers in the countries, and the two people decide, and the two parties deciding the entire executive branch and the entire judiciary branch. So there's a real, this has a real consequential effect as to what laws you encounter, as well as who is judging your execution of these laws. I mean, who is judging whether you are following these laws or not? And me personally, like I say, I always say, I would personally just leave that situation. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a country and other people are and there's two political parties, I would say take it seriously, because they're going to take it seriously. And I'm not saying that means to vote or not vote. I'm just saying that this is actually a really like writing laws for a country this massive of 400, I think maybe like 300 million people, right? Is not a small undertaking. Not a small undertaking taken. I don't know in the least, but that's it. That's it.
So Oni, is the fix in no matter what when it comes to the upcoming election? Is Kamala the choice?
Oh yeah, so that's so before Donald Trump won last time, I would have thought so, but I can't really say one way or the other, because when Donald Trump won against Hillary, even though everybody didn't like Hillary, like everybody kind of thought, oh, the fix is in, Hillary's just gonna win by default, blah blah blah. And the fact that she didn't win, although again nobody really liked her, but the fact that she didn't win and that this guy Trump just randomly came through and won, again, I wouldn't say that it's the fix is in. I have no idea. I mean, I don't think. I think if there was a guy who predicted Trump was going to win, and I told him he was full of shit, and yeah, so I'm not going to say that.
I respect that. Let's go to Kofi. Kofi, is the fix in no matter what Talk about it in relation to what you saw in the video.
This is gonna be a long one, Koku.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's gonna be a long one. I never heard someone that is so articulate, so well informed of what's going on, simultaneously saying the most stupidest shit, unhistorical, politically ignorant thing in my life of this bullshit. There's things in there that he says that I agree with. And I don't know how old this was, because I'm thinking like, okay, this sounds, like it was old, but no, it's current, because you're talking about what's going on currently. So the thing that I find that is very conspiratorial with him is saying that, oh, like you're saying, the fix is in. So it doesn't matter who you vote for, because it's already chosen. Now, when people say stupid shit, how I determine it's stupid by seeing how it plays out in real life. So if voting is just a Ponzi scheme or something for the masses to make the masses making on political decisions, why were Black people weren't not allowed to vote? Where you have to have a Voting Rights Act, where it's not even a law. Every couple of years they have to vote in again to see if Black people could vote, right? Women weren't able to vote, right? Voting right. There's gerrymandering. If you don't know what gerrymandering is, they redo districts. Mostly Republicans do that. They do districts so their people get more votes in their district to elect on a local level and also on a higher level. There's gerrymandering, right? So already from the beginning, it doesn't make any sense. It sounds stupid, right? When it comes to Trump and Harris, he was saying also that there were running mates, like, oh, they weren't picked. There was no DNC, there was no RNC, they had no one running for them. He's right. But he's saying this in general, on a grand scale. Normally in past elections, yes, like the last election, Kamala Harris against Joe Biden, you had a DNC, you had an RNC, and things of that nature, right? But no one was running on the RNC. It was just Trump. No one ran against Trump. It was just Trump. That's more indicative of what's going on the right. Same thing on the left too. No one was running against Joe Biden. Well, no, they had people running against Joe Biden. They had several people running against Joe Biden, but obviously they weren't popular enough. They were out. They were out financed, right? So boom, Joe Biden was the Democratic nominee, right? He wasn't officially elected as the official Democratic nominee, right? That's when Kamala Harris came in there, because they were saying, hey, look, we're gonna have to pick a nominee, and that's why Joe Biden got out and Kamala Harris is in. So with just a limited space of time, there was no time to do a DNC and do all that other stuff when you got this much time. So strategically, it doesn't make sense to go with Joe Biden's second in command, which would be Kamala Harris, right? To do a DNC and waste all that time is bullshit, right? So that's one of my points where I see what he's saying, but he sounds fucking stupid at the same time, right? So yes, U.S. does rig elections. I like that he used Guyana. I forgot what hurricane it was one time. They went to Guyana one time. I think it was during the Clinton administration, and it was like, yeah, we'll fix the seawall and we'll fix this and fix all that thing. But you're gonna have to accept certain policies of ours. They're like, okay, what are you talking about? And one of it is like, I think they're trying to put like a Planned Parenthood there and stuff like that. Take your goddamn freaking money. We don't want your ass in this country anyway. But the last person that was in the last election in Guyana, when Ali became president, Mike Pompeo was over there, right? So yes, they do that. Just because they rig elections overseas doesn't mean elections over here is freaking fake. It's just stupid. I see where he's going, but it just doesn't sound. It doesn't make any sense. So this false equivalency also that he was doing with both parties being equal. Like, I'm trying to keep it short. That's just simply not true. When people say, well, they're two wings of the same bird, yes, they're two wings of the same bird, but one is fucking left and one is right. Right? They have to operate in different different ways. Right? So both parties are equal when it comes to the financial well-being of this country, period. They're fighting over par as far as like, okay, who's gonna get more money. right? That's all that is. Which party? Because it's all American parties. Which party is going to get more money? Which party's vision is going to rule? But the basis is economics, and they all gonna, you know, they're all gonna control whatever part of government do that, right? That's one thing. So him also saying that it's that the Democrats rig elections like Venezuela with Maduro. That's I don't see any evidence of that. That's another stupid thing that he said. The closest thing that the Democrats rigging an election was when Bernie Sanders was running, when the same like when it was Hillary, right, is doing the DNC, and they were cheating on behalf of for Hillary Clinton during the DNC. They was giving Donna Brazile, they were giving Hillary answers so she could know what it is, so she could get prepared. That's not rigging an election like Maduro, right? So the problem is money in politics, right? So you give quote unquote campaign contributions, right? So when he says that, well, the voters or the people don't make the laws, the Constitution, it's the government that does. He's right in the way as far as like campaign contributions, legal campaign contributions you can make, right? So when Obama was running and things like that, people will say, okay, or any politician is saying, okay, you saying all this good shit or whatever, where are you getting your money from to run your campaign? Who's running your campaign? And he's right. It's Raytheon, GE, all these other corporations, stuff like that. So guess what? I paid for your campaign. Now you have to make good on me. So if I want like Trump, so if I am for fossil fuels and dirty and dirty energy or dirty coal, according to Trump, you could clean the coal and it's no longer dirty coal, right? I'm going to be against certain environmental protections to protect the environment, right? So I'm going to not be as expedient to do that, right? So he's right in that regard as far as like corporations doing it. But the whole voting thing is just ridiculous. So he thinks that the only thing that's at stake is money and not the law. And this is where another thing where he's just totally politically ignorant. He's making it seem like, oh, it's just about what's at stake in this election is just about money. It's not about, this is not a partisan election. This election is about keeping the United States government and its rules and its laws, if you like it or not, intact versus Trump, who said he wants to be a dictator on day one, versus Trump, who said he wants to get rid of the Constitution. No one on the Democratic side, no other president that ever ran or in office that ever said shit like that repeatedly and double down and don't apologize or say what it is. I'm not being hyperbolic. It's not hyperbole. This is what the man is saying. So when you have this guy saying, oh, it's just about money and control, and they both just want money and control. This one is, if Harrisburg is going to be aliens, if Trump is going to be some bullshit. Like, no, he sounds like a fucking alien. Like he doesn't know what's going on. To me, he sounds like a little bit of a plant. To me, personally, without even like mentioning that. So for argument's sake, so if it's all rigged, right? It's rigged. The only people that tried to rig an election or presidentially was Nixon and Trump. So that's what Watergate was about. So what's the big fucking deal about Watergate if it's always been a fix? Trump is the only person on a president on a grand scale that tried to steal the election. So he lost in Georgia because Georgia was a key state, and he's getting on the people in Georgia like, hey man, I just need it was like 11,000 and something hundred more votes. Go find them. But according to this fucking idiot, it's the fix is in, and this guy is saying that they already picked them. This doesn't make any fucking sense. You're gonna speak about politics. Know what you're talking about. Know what's going on the everyday. Again, if what he's saying is true, why is this happening? Why is this happening? That's if I was in a room with him, I would like to ask him these follow-up questions. So he said, so Trump is the first. Hold on one second. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like a lot of things he was saying is true and indicative of the United States government. Yes. Or do corporations and money rule the United States? Yes. That is true. Did it interfere in international elections? Yes, that is true. But to say those things that I listed, that saying that it's the election is rigged and all this other stuff, he just sounds stupid, right? And the last question, I think you were talking about the last caller. He's like, well, he said the reason why Trump won. Trump never won the popular vote. And then you guys were talking about the electoral on college. He won because he had more electoral votes, which we all know is a racist thing based way back, before the Civil War, right? He won because he had enough electoral votes. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, which she should have won. So when you want to talk about democracy being fake in that manner, yes, if you've gone based upon votes, and you're supposed to get enough votes, and enough votes are supposed to determine what the American people want, then yes, I agree that's the way it should be, and that's how it's not democratic. You can do electoral college, and that's why Trump lost the last time, because again he lost the popular vote, and he didn't have enough electoral votes. That's why he lost. And that's pretty much it. I use the mic. I know I took a lot of time.
That's fine. There's only a few of us on the panel tonight, so we have a little room. Erzuliism had some objections to what you said. So I asked Erzuliism to come up. Let's see if he'll come up or not.
Bring him up.
Yeah. With that said, let's hear what Buana has to say to everything. Is the fixing no matter what, Buana, in relation to what this gentleman spoke about in the video?
Not necessarily in terms of which party will be elected. I don't think the fix will be in there. But I personally think, and this is just solely my opinion, I think that democracy in the Western world is an illusion. I think it's an illusion. But the reality is that doesn't matter. As long as that illusion is real in the hearts and the minds of the voters, it doesn't matter if it's an illusion or not. They believe it's real. It's almost like having a conversation with a pretendian. A pretendian says, well, my ancestors is, I'm a full-blooded Cherokee, full-blooded. No matter what I tell that person, no matter the DNA evidence or the factual evidence I may show that person, if that person inhabit in his mind that he believes that he's an Indian, full-blooded Indian, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I think that for most true believers, whether it's in religion or whether it's in politics and things that matter, it does not matter what this man is saying, even though I think that a lot of the things he was saying is true. And some people say, well, why would political parties even vote? If the economy of America is into the trillions of dollars, right? So political parties fight very hard to get control of that public purse, because that public purse is worth trillions of dollars, right? So as the different political parties want to get control of that party, because they will be able to distribute the resources of that public purse and allocate it in different contracts to their own special groups, friends, families, lovers, all over the United States. They get to determine where the money flows and where the money goes. In particular, many of these people are connected to many corporations. They have their own personal interests and business interests into these other entities. So government contracts will be distributed, I think, up to 800. The government allows for $800 billion worth of contracts. $800 billion, almost $1 trillion worth of contracts every year or something like that. I'm not 100% sure in the United States. So if I know that, hey, I could have contracts to, let's say, make prison uniforms, make prison uniforms. My company or my friends who own this company, which I have 10% interest in, will have the contract to make prison uniforms, right? if I was to elect my candidate or get my candidate elected, but the candidate has also 10% of interest into that company who makes prison uniforms, everyone stands to financially benefit and gain. So it's very important to have my political party or person get in power. So we have to stand, and we know what triggers the population and some people in population America. When you hear tough word cry, these kinds of things allow for people to vote for you, to people to get on the vote for you. You know that the brother Kofi just mentioned, money and law have nothing really to do with one another, not necessarily. But if I was to tell you that if I was to lock up a whole lot of people, then my company thrives, because now I could have a contract to produce prison uniforms and make a whole lot of money for it, because I will have use for those prison uniforms. So it's all connected. You know, that tough on crime legislation is going to lock up a lot of black men. Yes, my company will, my private company will thrive off of that, because my friend, you know, declares or issues or allocates private contracts in which I have a special interest in. And I know Kofi was talking also about in the past, he was talking in terms of America when he mentions ideas of redlining, which is important. When he mentions women's rights and women having a right to, these are social exercises. That was absolutely right and true in the past. This was before, I think, that America became a corporatocracy, where the corporations took over. Now the corporations are in control. Special interest groups, lobbyists, these people are in control of major legislations in the country. Major legislation in the country. They determine major legislations in the country, because that's where the money is going to be flowing. Pharmaceutical companies, private prisons, the food industrial complexes, all manner, oil, gas, all manner of things like that. These people invest millions of dollars into lobby groups to make sure their laws being enforced. So who you think the government is going to be more inclined to listen to? The regular person on the street who is just casting their vote, or the person who is investing millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure certain legislations are signed? This is the reality of what democracy really is in America. If you look at America as a corporatocracy or as a business, which really the rank and file American person don't necessarily look at America. And I understand that, because that's not what they've been taught in American government in high school. They have not been taught that. So I don't expect them to look at America like that. But the reality is just the reality. The reality is just the reality. Maybe people say, well, Buana, that's your reality. Well, you know, maybe so. That's just how I see it from my perspective. But I think that at the end of the day, you have to look in terms of looking at America. Yes, there are social concerns that is the hot button issues within America. But at the end of the day, you must look at America as what America actually is, which is a business. It's a business. It's about the money at the end of the day, man. You know, all this immigration thing that people aren't hopping on right now. Donald Trump has hired more legal immigrants than anybody. Because he knows it's cheap labor. He knows it's cheap labor. The American government does not want Americans. They don't want to pay Americans to pick fruit under a hot Florida sun. You know why? Because first of all, they're gonna have to pay them American wages, and second of all, they're gonna have to pay them insurance and all manner of different things. Which means to buy an apple out of the grocery store, instead of costing $2 per bag, it'll cost you $20. $20 per bag. Could you imagine that type of inflation? So these kinds of realistic conversations will never be had on public media. They will never be discussed, because how we look at immigration is like a football thing. But the reality is the corporations understand that cheap labor is the order of the day in America and other parts of the world. Why do you think they move their corporations outside of the United States of America? Why do you think that they do that? Why do you think that? Because they getting they getting the best of both worlds. Donald Trump said, okay, we're gonna close the door. But really and truly, we're gonna close the door, but we gonna still sneak these immigrants on the side because we need these people. We need these people to perform cheap labor. But on political platforms, I'm gonna sound tough on crime, tough on illegal immigration, when in fact the corporations and many of his buddies and him himself will hire immigrant labor. But like I say, man, I think it's all connected to money. I think it's all connected. I think that to separate the politics from the social issues, from the money, I think that is an illusion in terms of how we look at democracy. But I'll end it there, bro. To let someone else go.
I appreciate that, Buana. Thanks for that. Erzuliism is here, but before I have Erzuliism speak, I want him to anchor the conversation as it's his topic. Let's welcome in Real Black Gentleman. Real Black Gentleman, how are you this week?
I'm good.
Good. Real Black Gentleman, in the chat you said that's that inevitability balderdash. He said the guy is using 5-syllable words to try to be expertish. You want to expand on all of it? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the way he's portraying the whole electoral system in a matter-of-fact way. He smooths over a lot of stuff. I mean, only made a point about the when you have a country of so many millions of people, and you're actually trying to have an electoral process in the midst of whatever else could be going on in that country, people working, people doing this, that, and the third, the trueness of the people's will is never quite like expressed. Now, that's not to say that like you can't actually invest in trying to have an optimized electoral system, yet and still that requires a population that is relatively managed. When you have random people crossing into the threshold, your whole population is disturbed. You can't have a steady count and try to, assess, if are we really going to try to get like 80% of the people who can vote to vote? When you have random people coming in who could be throwing off the vote, so that's the whole idea of having, the immigrants come in and then, they're undocumented, but they get to put their hands all over American documents. You know how that works? It's like there is that. So if there is any fix, is that things aren't fixed. You follow me? The only fix is that the things that are broken continue to be broken for an ostensible advantage for one party or another. That's all. I mean, I know it's some shenanigans. I know that. I mean, there's all kinds of the voting machines, it's all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? People saying Kamala's husband's was on the board of one of the voting machines. I mean, that's critical information. Like, you're not, your hands are, you know what I'm saying? You have involvement in that. You have influence over that. So there's things where it's just like, is there a fix? Yeah, because things are broken, or the machine's going to be not foolproof.
That's not true. That's not true, bro.
What's not true?
That is a right-wing talking point about the voting machines being broken. The machines that were being used were Smartmatic and Dominion voting machines. That's a right-wing talking point. Fox News kept saying that the whole time.
Okay. What's not true about it? Elaborate the untruth in it.
Well, there was the people that was propagating that propaganda was Fox News, right? Fox News kept saying that. So the people that kept saying that during the election, the voting machines were Smartmatic and Dominion voting on machine system. Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, was doing all this bullshit and stuff like that. You guys can fact check me while I'm talking, right? Dominion voting machine and Smartmatic, they sued Fox News for defamation, for saying that's a lie, because the whole propaganda with that was like, oh, Maduro is put those that come from Venezuela, and Venezuela is the one that provided the voting machines, and it has Wi-Fi and all types of stupid shit in there. Fox News lost, and they have to pay those people millions of dollars, right? Ooh, all of a sudden, bye
Hey
bye,
yo, hey
Tucker
yo, yo!
Carlson.
I never
Tucker
mentioned
Carlson.
anything. Well, wait! I have to jump in because like
Okay.
I just want to make it clear because I never mentioned anything about what I said is that when you're that close to situations. I'm not gonna sit here and say that these. Do you know how foolproof these voting machines are? I know that people can say things, but this goes back to like I say about global warming. Like, do you know anyone who can verify this for real? Because if you can't, I mean, I gotta take all information. You can't sit here and tell me that with all this spying that we can do with all this electronics, and we have everything smart, but it's incredibly dumb. You know what I'm saying? All this smart technology is not that smart. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here and say it's outside the realm of possibility that voting machines can be hacked. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I mean, if it's not hacked, there's going to be a whole look. I can't say with good faith that these machines are all that. I think it would be better to have a lot more, old school, methods with like modern, ways of like verifying these things. I'm not a big fan of the voting machines my damn self. I'm just going to keep that a buck.
Okay,
I'm not going to say it. And even though it may be right wing, I mean, I'm not. I can say that, but just because something's a wing, don't discredit it. I absolutely. And I mean, my whole thing with a lawsuit is that my whole thing is when you try to like say defamation of character, like Dominion can say that, oh, you're defaming my character. Get away from me. Don't like inquiry any further about that. You see where I'm getting at? Who is the me? Is the me in the hood? What is the medium to me or you?
Hold on.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm encroaching your time on your time because it is your time, but I just want to respond to that. So basically, what you're saying is that there's no way to prove just because it's electronic. You're inferring from what I hear that because it's a machine, it has Wi-Fi access and Wi-Fi capability. I have a modern electronic a record player that my wife got because I got a whole bunch of albums, vinyl, right? It has no Wi-Fi capability. Just because you can plug something in doesn't mean it has internet access, Wi-Fi access, or Bluetooth access. So that was what they're trying to say. So if they're going to go to a court of law and say that, right? Now I'm going to be honest. I didn't read the whole case, but emphatically, spot settled because they couldn't prove it. Not that everyone would know. Like, why would someone create a voting machine that's supposed to be by the government, supposed to be unhackable because people try to steal elections? Why would that make that Wi-Fi accessible? It could easily be hacked, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's a talking point. It's things that people say, but they can't validate. That's like saying, oh, my electric shaver has Wi-Fi accessibility. It does no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Oh, my calculator that operates with the light that has Wi-Fi capability. Anybody can say that, but technically speaking, is that a possibility? No, it's not. That's why I'm saying
what I would say is that how would I say it? The FCC puts on every like machine, like you can't use it to interfere. It has to accept any interference that comes in it. This is the FCC. So I mean, we're talking about electronics, right? So it's not that any machine can't receive interference, and this comes into what I'm trying to say. There's very, very, very sophisticated. I mean, there's ways. I mean, a lot of times it comes into ones and zeros. Things come into ones and zeros. I'm not saying. All I'm saying is that people can forge things on paper. You can make fake names. I think that when we're talking about our will and our voice, I never said I want a voting machine. You see what I'm saying? This is what, again, rich people try to convince people that you'll be more efficient, because and maybe to a degree it was, but sometimes you should take a step back after making a step forward. Maybe when you have better technology that can make, more how would I say, low tech things, just have more validity, as I'm saying. I think sometimes you might. For me, I think you should go back. As far as the fix, I said everything that I said. I think that he's trying to make it seem like that. I don't know that there's an inevitability about it. Like I said before, and that it doesn't matter. Even it doesn't matter one way or another, and that you should kind of give up your guard. That's all I'm going to say. I'm passing the mic.
I appreciate it, RBG. So with all of that said, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. Azuliism is the fix in no matter what. What say you?
Yeah, what's up? My whole thing with this is that we have this grandiose self-high put us on a high pedestal that, oh, this can't happen here. What this guy is just saying is that if whoever controls the big business making money could control, I'm gonna use my own country, Haiti's economy. If they could decimate the rice economy of that country, if they can invade that country through proxy governments, they did it in Haiti, they did it in the Dominican Republic, they did it in what's that? Venezuela. They do it everywhere. So what this guy is saying is that, why can they do it in other countries and not do it here? At the end of the day, money counts. Big business rule this country. If it's not about money, all these politicians, mad corruptions we've been saying lately, the mayors in Chicago, a couple of them are under the microscope for corruption. Judges are under the microscope for corruption. So if the lower level could be corrupt, so the election can be. It's not even about that. What is the fact that a lot of people in here believe so much that this can't be possible. It's because the Republicans. The guy said it only happened twice, when Nixon was there and when Trump. Also, the Democrats are superb. They always do the good things by the people. They never shit on the people. They never shit on black people. They never shit on other countries all over the world. It's not them. So,
I never said that. You're mischaracterizing what I'm saying.
That's basically what you said. You said
no, I didn't. No, I did not.
Oh, God.
I said
Then you could come after, my guy.
All right, you're right. I'll mute. You're right.
Yo, what I heard you say, it was Nixon and Trump that did that. All this man is saying is that at the end of the day, whether it's the lobbyists, the people with big money, whatever they wanted to shut down the country in 2020, nobody could have done anything. Shut down. So for people to say that, in 2020 during COVID, mad people lost their jobs, homes, everything. Nobody could have done anything. Even people didn't want to shut down their business, you had to shut it down. So those people that had said, that thing will protect us against everything, come to find out it was a lie. The shorty that you're riding with, Kamala, in 2016, she said, I'm not gonna, in 2020, whatever, 2016, when she was running against Biden, we're gonna stop frack. We're not gonna do fracking in America. We're not. She just got on there and said, I will not stop fracking. So what changed? What changed? Or maybe the money changed her mind? This guy is just saying, he's just saying that at the end of the day, if they could manipulate the whole world, and I'm not on Republican or Democrat, I'm talking about if big business could manipulate the world all over, so you think your election is divine? So this is the thing that these super Democrats don't understand. And then if anybody never saw this movie, go see Inception. Don't try to convince anybody. Just make them believe they came up with it on their own. Then they will never throw away that ideology. So at the end of the day, this man is just saying that, yo, open your eye. If they could do it over here, why can't they do it here? Hillary said that Trump stole the election with Russia. Nobody bat an eye. So it's just crazy to me that we so deep, especially black people. They're so deep into the Democrats. They could not be like, no, maybe no. So I mean, I think all this guy is trying to say is that be vigilant, open your eye, and don't fall for the sucker shit. Fall for action, not for words. I think that's what he's saying. But even though I think at the end of the day, he's probably saying that, yo, whatever, it's big money that's talking. So that's what I have to say.
I will add before Kofi goes and others who want to add a thought here. I will add that I appreciate Uzuli bringing it back to that basic point. I think that's basically what was being said here, is that it's about big business. Big business is what runs shit. Look, even colonization in Africa and stuff was initiated by business and stuff like that. By businesses. There was a time before I let you guys go. There was a time when Umar Johnson used to preach this a lot, and you guys will let me know if you remember it. But he used to talk about how the leadership in America is chosen by I want to say it's the Bilderbergs or something like that. But there's some council that goes down and they have to go and speak to these people. The two candidates have to go and speak and kind of represent themselves to be chosen. And, you know, whoever's chosen is the one who's best at carrying out the will of the money, so to speak. So you guys, I want you guys to give me your follow-ups, but also speak to that point, this idea. Do you think that there's this idea that these people are ultimately chosen based on how well they present themselves to the powers that be? Kofi first, and then anyone else after.
I can't say, I can't even answer that question because I would like to see proof of that, because we're just saying this is what somebody says. So I would like to know where he got that information. I don't do conspiracy theories or you know, especially on matters on things that we should know is either true or is not true. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with conspiracy theories. So to answer that question, I will have to say no, because unless the evidence presents itself to me otherwise. You want to get other people to answer that, or can I respond to the brother that went before?
No, you can respond. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so he sounds like a closet Republican, because he said he's not a Republican or a Democrat. Like, I keep bumping into people that say they're independent, but all their points is Republican talking points, right? So I did say that Trump and Nixon were the only people that were to do a coup, to try to circumvent the elections, right? I'm not even saying they were all Republicans. That's where the breadcrumbs lead, right? That's just history, right? And I did not say, this is where I say he's misrepresenting what I'm saying. He's trying to say that I said that the Democrats don't do nothing. I never said that. Democrats, he said Democrats do nothing to black people. Democrats don't do nothing to this. I never said that. I don't know where you get that from. Like, it sounds like you were in your feelings. I never said anything like that. I would never say anything like that. I'm an independent. So I could talk shit about the Republicans and I could talk shit about the Democrats, right? Right now, it's just that this time more than usual, the Republicans is just a flavor right now, because what the things that they're doing is unhistoric. He also said that COVID is a Democratic thing and that wasn't real. So again, I'm going to try to be cordial. That's just unscientific and just ignorant, right? COVID happened. You can't blame. Matter of fact, COVID happened during the Trump administration, not the Democratic administration. So I don't know why you blaming the Democrats for closing on businesses and stuff like that when Trump was in office. And Trump is the reason we mismanaged COVID. COVID wasn't Trump's fault, even though he was saying racist, calling the Chinese this and Chinese that. Trump COVID wasn't Trump's fault. Him mismanaging it, saying it's fake, and other people that are just fucking stupid and have less than a 6th grade education saying that COVID's fake and is this, all that. That's what was going on, and that caused more deaths, right? That's what happened, right? So COVID is not a lie, right? Yes, and you are right when you said Kamala Harris, she changed her mind because at the beginning when she was running, she was saying, oh no, she's against fracking. Yes. And then they asked her again, and it's like, oh, now you're for fracking, you change your mind. So she's getting beat up for changing her mind. She could do that. At least she was honest enough. Because we expect politicians to lie. At least she was honest and said, yes, I changed my mind. And America right now is producing more oil domestically now under the Biden administration, under Trump. Please look it up. I want someone to tell me that I'm lying or my information is wrong, right? So all these things that he's saying, I understand. I'm not going to say that the thing what the gentleman was saying is absolutely true. Money rules this country. That's not what I'm trying to undermine. Yes, United States government interfere in other elections. The thing that gets my goat is him saying that our vote doesn't count when there's many dozens of examples of people domestically in government and out of government is fighting to get votes, to take votes away, gerrymandering, all that other stuff. That and him trying to put this just overshadow and gloss over that we're at a particular time in the United States where the political landscape and the things that's happened in the last administration is spilling over into this administration right now with this election is unpresidential. There's no other example. So when people are foolishly and ignorantly enough to say, well, and just use and just comment and address what's going on right now, like it's 2008 or a past election. This is different, and that's what gets me upset. That no one says what happened in January 6th. No one's saying that Trump said he wants to get rid of the Constitution. No one's saying that Trump wants to be a dictator. But then we got a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's the same on both sides. It's the same on both sides." No, it's not. This is not a partisan election, right? You have Republicans that are endorsing Kamala Harris, right? You have so many people that's endorsing her right now is because of they don't like the bullshit what's going on with Donald Trump. Mike Pence, he says he's gonna hang his fucking vice president. Is that fucking normal? So all people saying is that fucking normal? Mike Pence is not even endorsing. More than half of Trump's cabinet is not endorsing him. When has that ever happened in a time in history? Fuck y'all feelings. When there was a time in history where something like this has happened that you just think, oh, it's just the same old bullshit. That's my question I asked the panel, people listening, or anything like that. When there was a time in history where you president said, fuck the Constitution, fuck the United States, I want to be a dictator, and the person doubles down on it. I'll just leave it right there.
A point taken there, Kofi. Point well taken there, as a matter of fact. With that said, you know what? I know I was going to give it a free fall moment, but Black Seal just returned. Black Seal, what are your thoughts on this? And then after that, anyone could give their last thoughts.
Is this AI?
Nah, it's real.
Okay.
I've seen him before. He's real.
So I didn't catch. I caught snippets because I was driving, but I do see both political parties. There's some issues between the two, but I think the fact that Republicans are endorsing Kamala Harris as a bad sign, right? When you have people like Dick Cheney, you just call him Darth Cheney because this man was, he was well-known oil profiteer. He supported the war in Iraq. He opposed Martin Luther King Day. He opposed so many things. And the fact that you have someone like Dick Cheney supporting Kamala Harris, it just kind of lets you know how far to the right we moved how far to the right that the Democrats have moved. And I think this is the overall problem. There's no true left in the United States. There's only right and there's center right. The Democrats are definitely center right, whereas the Republicans, they're just outright insane fascism. But the problem is that when you keep voting for the lesser evil, eventually you get evil, right? So the Democratic Party is more willing to embrace a war criminal like Dick Cheney than they are to stop the genocide of the Palestinians. This is how fucked up American politics has become. Every time we keep voting for the lesser evil, there's certain things that we're just accepting. Okay, we accept the fact that these billionaires ruin our country, but we gave them money anyway. We accept the fact that 90% of our drone bombings overseas kill civilians. But you know what? At least it's not Trump. So now we're saying it's okay to genocide people, but at least it's not Trump. So I think a lot, but then at the same time, we see the threat that Trump and the Republicans represent to quote unquote democracy in this country. Because America is more of a republic than a democracy. We have a representative democracy. It's not like a direct democracy. People elect those to represent them, and then those people vote on behalf of their constituents, which is how it's supposed to work. But then in reality, you have Supreme Court cases like Citizens United that basically legalize bribery. Corporations are people, and they can lobby, aka bribe people, which is what they're doing to get their demands met. So I certainly understand the dilemma that comes with it. So you have a group that says, hey, fuck this Democratic shit. We're not doing this shit no more. After this, you don't even got to vote no more. We got this shit locked down. We're good, right? Which is in opposition to the very idea of what American democracy is supposed to be. But at the same time, many presidents have kind of skirted the line, right? They've skirted the line. They've done things that made you question, but they've never gone full out. I'm taking this shit over, right? Like Trump, I can name a couple of examples. You got people like even going back to Abraham Lincoln, when people spoke up against him, he had their ass locked up. They don't mention that part in the history books, but he had people imprisoned for speaking out against the way he was conducting the Civil War. But no president has gone as far as Trump. Like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm with all this elected shit. That's done. Ain't gonna be no more elections. So I understand the existential threat that Trump represents, and his ideas for his cabinet, and how they want to transform the government. And they want just not just the government, but for the executive branch, right? They want to eliminate all the cabinet positions and the other things that employ thousands of people. They want, and of course, the Supreme Court is already bought and paid for. You got, we always talk about Clarence Thomas, but the other justices, they're bought and paid for too. We know what side they're on and what side they're going to continue to vote for. And the idea is to any gains that Black people, Latino, any marginalized people in the United States, any gains we've gotten since the Civil Rights Movement, they want all that shit gone. So that's the ultimate long-term goal. And that's the threat that we face. Back in the day, when Roosevelt tried to push through Social Security and they said it was unconstitutional, Roosevelt said he was going to pack the court till he got enough justices to approve him. And there's nothing written where you say you got to have 9 justices. You can put as many justices in there as you want. But we have a Democratic Party like we got right now who don't have the balls to do it. Trump gave Biden a loaded gun. He's sitting there with his dick in his hand, not doing nothing. So, I see that you're really caught between a rock and a hard place when we understand it. But for me personally, I don't like any of the choices that we have for elections this year. And I see both parties, even though they made their goals and their methods may differ, but their ultimate goal is the continuance of American imperialism. There's one thing the party they never disagree on. They never disagree on war. They never disagree on how much money we can give to the military. The Pentagon has failed every audit it's had in the past 10 years. So there's no accounting for that money. and you don't hear any people in Congress or the Senate or executive branch saying, hey, you know what, where's some of this money going? But they'll sit up here and they'll tell you they don't have enough money to feed children. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Can I build upon that too? I 1,000,000% agree with what you just said, brother. I just want to say 2 points that you said. That's 2 points that is very, very. To my point. So the war was happening on in Gaza, right? You have some Republicans, they like to say, well, we don't like war, right? But at the same time, they don't understand it's U.S. policy, right? Like you said, to support Israel. So you're going to be in war no matter what. They picked the side. They got people going to Kamala Harris. You got people, Palestinians, going to protesting at almost every rally that Kamala Harris goes to, right? At least she's like, hey, me and Joe, we're gonna working on a deal for a ceasefire. At least he's saying that. Trump is like, no, fuck you. You got Jared Kushner saying, yeah, we want Gaza to be beachfront property. Like when fucking people say that the two parties are even or the same. No, it's not. They're both going to support Israel no matter what. But you got one that's held to a moral standard, and the other one is like, nah, just white supremacy, wipe them all out. So that's the weak part about the Democrats, and because for people who may think that I'm a Democrat. Another thing that you said also is about, yeah, you could pack the Supreme Court justice with as many people as you want. But see, at least the Democrats are trying to do it, and like Roosevelt, do it within the confines of the law of the Constitution of the United States. Trump is like saying no. So again, when people say it's the same thing, it's not the same thing. But that's why that's one thing I hate about the Democrats, right? And I do lean more left, but that's why I do not like calling them a Democrat, because they're fucking weak. And one last point that I'm saying, and it's going to go to one of the reasons why I don't think she's going to do anything for black people like that. I mean, we're all Americans, but there are also black Americans, right? So one thing that I hate about the Democrats, and I was cursing like a sailor, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're in office, right? I think they had a majority in both houses, if I'm not wrong. I think they had a little edge on in the Senate, right? And John Lewis' birthday came up and shit like that, and they went on Al Sharpton, Black Caucus, Kamala Harris. Everybody's marching on Edmund Pettus Bridge saying, we shall overcome, singing Negro spirituals. We need this to be done for black people. We need this to be done for black people. I'm like, bitch, you're the fucking vice president. While y'all marching on a goddamn bridge, I'm not saying to do January 6th, you also be marching on the White House stuff and slapping the fire out of Kamala Harris. Why the fuck are we marching? You guys were marching to get some semblance of power and recognition. You have a black woman in there right now, Joe Biden during his acceptance speech saying we're going to do the George Floyd this and this, that. The weakness and feckleness of the Democratic Party, especially people within the Democratic Party, they vote and they just, after that, they just shit, sleep, and don't do shit for another 4 years. That's the weakness of the Democratic Party, and that's why I do not like the Democratic Party. That's why I like the Republican Party. Right or wrong, they're going to fight tooth and nail. Doesn't matter. They're going to fight tooth and nail. That's the thing I admire about the Republican Party, but I'll leave it right there.
One thing I would say that the Democratic Party is where social movements go to die, right? So any type of social movement, the Democrats are going to co-opt it, and they're going to smother it in its crib. That's what that's the goal of the Democratic Party. If they're going to, that's a great idea. That's why you have Medicare. Remember when what's her name, AOC, was talking about Medicare for all, and
you went out.
Yeah, all that stuff. Now she ain't even talking about it.
Well, that was Bernie.
Now Bernie too. I'm ashamed I was a Bernie bro. I'm ashamed of myself. I look in the mirror every day with shame, because I thought Bernie was decent. He turned out to be another Zionist dog.
So how? Anyway, I'm going off topic.
So I say this to say that a lot of what those brothers said prove the point that this man is talking. This will be the day that Dick Cheney, one of the top people that African American and black people say is the number one racist, is now giving kudos for supporting Kamala. Bernie Sanders twice gathered all the youth votes and twice let us got out of the race and gave it to some bullshit. So what this man is saying is that it's all games for them. It's the same side. It's good cop versus bad cop. The primary, Shorty didn't even. When was the last time that the Democrat didn't allow the people to choose who they want to run? How did Kamala just pass through and be like, "Oh, I won the primaries"?
There was no primary. Maybe you didn't fit that. So
No, I know
you're looking at one side only, not looking at the whole thing. There was no primary for Trump. No one was running against Trump, and no one was running against Biden. So that accusation goes on both sides, not just the Democrat.
Now they did run against Trump. I mean, remember DeSantis ran against Trump, but the Republicans fell back.
Oh yeah. My bad. And yeah, my bad. And then there was it wasn't. Yeah, there was, but
there was a foregone conclusion. We know Trump was going to do. It was a foregone
exactly. We all knew there was a conclusion that Trump was going to win. But I'm saying, at the end of the day,
but he wasn't chosen. You're saying like they went eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Nobody was gonna. Trump was gonna win the nominee regardless. All of that shit that they were playing, that DeSantis and that Indian guy, it was all game. They knew Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the end of the day, I'm saying this: we are here. This man is back to what I'm saying. It's about that. It's good cop versus bad cop. Yeah, everybody wants to believe. Oh, especially black people. We want to do so much in the Democratic and the Democrats. That, oh no, they couldn't possibly use us. We've been claiming that they've been using us for votes, and brother just said it. They use us for vote and don't come back. What's the difference between what you said and what this man is saying?
Because what he is saying that it is picked and your vote doesn't count, and that's a lie. What we are saying is that they take our votes for granted. Those are two different things.
Well, let me interject. I do think. I mean, I actually agree with Razuli and what the speaker is saying, because they're hearing everything. You know, one thing I want to make sure is that we don't get into what is considered Democrat shilling, you know? And I say that to say, one thing is that the Democrats are not weak. The Democrats are not weak. It reminds me of this quote I heard from this brother, Michael Graves, I guess, but he said, you know, if you go to the Democrats and you ask them for money, they say it's not that they don't have money, it's that they don't have money for you. The Democrats are the most powerful political one of the most powerful political organizations on the planet. And if not the most powerful political organization in America. If not top two. They are not weak by any stretch of the imagination. What they're doing around the world is showing exactly what they're capable of doing. They you know, the question comes up, why are you protesting at Kamala's campaign? She is the vice president right now. She is the vice president, and Biden was the president. No, is the president right now. So the person who has just sent Ukraine money, the person who's just sent Israel money, the person who's that's Biden. You know, and the question becomes, why would you not protest the people who are doing this right now?
So can I ask you a question? So do you feel if it was Donald Trump would say he's not giving money to Israel?
Well, again, so this is the thing that we tend to do, right? Again, this is what he said. He said that we create these nemesis. You know, I've heard countless times, this is the most important election. This is the election. This is it. Fear mongering for decades. This is the worst president. It's nothing like this. It's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. It's the same story every 4 years. You got to go out and vote. This time is going to be different. This time is different. This time is different. What we know is that right now Joe Biden is the president of United States.
Answer my question though. I want to know if Trump was the president right now.
Trump was the president, and we don't see and is there a parallel to what's going on right now?
No, because you keep saying Democrats and Biden, Democrats.
No,
and
no.
it's
All right. What I'm saying is this: Trump was the president 4 years ago. Did we see blatant genocide going on in Palestine?
So okay,
In full in
you're
4K.
blaming. So
And
you're
We've had
blaming what's
genocide in
going on in
Palestine
Gaza
for the
right
past
now.
75 years, though. I mean, for the past
Hold on.
75 years.
Exactly. So you're blaming
again?
what's happening right now on Joe Biden.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
That's not true. That's
right now, yes, you would blame
true.
Joe Biden.
That's not true. That makes no sense.
But what we're saying, no.
That has
Right
nothing to
now,
do with
you
Joe
would
Biden.
blame Joe Biden. Who else would you blame?
What's been going on in
No. Sorry. What I'm saying is, right now, you would blame Joe Biden. Who else would you blame?
Why would how? Okay, so how is it Joe Biden's fault? Elaborate.
How is who? So who's the one signing the check for Israel right now?
No. You said the reason why there's a war is going on right now, right, is because it's
No,
Joe
I'm
Biden's
asking
fault.
who's the one signing the checks for Israel
No,
right now?
you a question: is it Trump's fault? And you said, why would it be Trump's
How is it Trump's fault?
Joe Biden's the president. So I'm asking you, how is it Joe Biden's fault?
How is
What's
it
going
Joe
on in
Biden's
Gaza?
fault that he's signing checks to go to Israel right now?
It's not about science. You said we're at war, and there's a war going on, and because it's Biden. So I'm asking you, how is it Biden's fault that what's going on there in Israel?
America's not at war. America is sending billions upon billions to kill Palestinian children with no pushback whatsoever. America is sabotaging United Nations efforts to stop what's going on there, and Biden is right behind it. What are you talking about?
Okay, so this is my question. So it's not Joe Biden's fault. So what do you mean
It's not Joe Biden's fault? Joe Biden has done the most blatant. Right now, hold on a second. We have to be realistic. Right now, this is the most blatant.
What you're failing to realize right now is that no matter who is the president, it is
No.
American policy.
No, you
to
can't
support-
say that
Hold
because
on.
Trump was
So it's
already
not American
president.
policy. It's not American policy.
Only let him
Israel's
finish. Let him
not an
finish. 'Cause
ally?
I want to hit a point.
Wait, I was speaking.
Who's
Israel's
speaking
not
first?
an
I
ally.
want to hit a
Israel's
point.
not an ally of the United States.
I want to hit a point.
Okay, go. Speak. Tell us how we didn't see anything like this in the last 10 years, but somehow this is Trump's fault. Go
Are
ahead.
you serious? There was the Palestinians have been occupied by
Yes, the
Israel.
Palestinians have been occupied for a long
All
time,
right,
but
but
we're
you're
talking about United. So when was the United Nations? When did the United Nations stand up for Palestine in the last 10 years?
You're moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm telling you that Biden has been remarkably worse for the situation.
Joe Biden specifically, you blaming an administration.
He's the president.
Right, for what's going on? Let me talk. You're blaming an administration, right, and a person for funding Israel. And I'm trying to say you fail to realize that is our ally of the United States. And since the founding of Israel, the United States have been given hundreds of millions of dollars to Israel. Same thing with Ukraine. They're also our ally. So to say, just because they've been in war and what's been happening over there, what's been happening what's that, on June or whatever happened when they attacked the compound, that's Joe Biden's fault, it doesn't make any sense. You might as well blame what's going on. So you're gonna blame on Vladimir Zelensky?
What do you mean it doesn't make any sense? Even if you're the ally, look. Even if you are the ally of Israel,
gentlemen,
sorry,
gentlemen, we've gone a bit off the topic now. The question was about the fix being in or not, no matter what, right? I respect the conversation. I do respect the conversation. I wish we could have had it in more detail, but I got other topics to get to tonight, right? I was gonna ask if there's any last thoughts, but here's what. Kofi or Oni, put up a prompt for next week. We'll continue the conversation and we'll be able to give it a bit more time next week, all right?
All right.
Oh wait, I just wanted to sorry. I was cut off earlier. Just again, I was waiting patiently. I wanted to say that I did run a political party. No, I was a part of a political party in New York City. It was the Freedom Party. It was going to be the second all-black political party in America, probably American history or whatever. And I wasn't like a leadership. I was just a grunt. But yeah, the Democrats definitely sabotaged it. And we know that the Democrats are sabotaging a lot of third-party candidates in this country. And just to belabor the point, none of us chose Kamala. Not that I wouldn't agree with Kamala, but none of us chose Kamala. So, the question is kind of self-evident as to, who's picking her, because none of us picked her. And that's all I'm going to say. Not that I don't like her as a candidate. It's just that realistically, nobody did pick her. That's it.
All right. Thank you guys for that. Again, you could bring the conversation back. I'm sorry if others had something last to say, but we spent a lot of time on that topic. And I'd like to get on to at least two more if possible. Should be topic number 3 tonight. Says, should be topic number 3 says, why are all these fake black people running on the quote unquote I'm black and I'm the first black woman, but allowing the gentrification of black neighborhoods, yet keep getting voted in by black people? This came with a link that takes us to YouTube. Let me share the screen with you guys. Takes us to YouTube. We'll watch the video, as much of it as we can, and then we'll discuss it.
It all began at a news conference this morning when the announcement was made that Lee resigned at City Hall. Lee was not present during this morning's news conference. Council President Virgie Lindsay said Lee's resignation was effective immediately.
As president of the City Council, it is with a heavy heart that I have accepted her resignation. Under these unfortunate circumstances, the Ward 2 seat is now vacant. My intent today is to reassure the people of the City of Jackson that the urgent legislative affairs of the city will continue uninterrupted. I know our citizens to be resilient, resourceful, and generous.
Ward 3 Councilman Kenneth Stokes believes Lee was steered in the wrong direction by some who didn't have her best interest in mind.
I think sometimes in government, fair weather friends are no good. Fair weather friend is a person who entice you like they're your friend, but all the time they're stabbing you in your back. And I think she got caught up into that situation.
Ward 6, Councilman Aaron Banks says Lee's resignation came out of the blue, and the only information he has is what was shared today and has a message for the citizens of Jackson.
Look, let's stay calm, let's stay prayerful. Let's stay prayerful for Angelique Lee and her family.
Got another City Girl leader in the news. This time is 48-year-old City Girl Councilwoman Angelique Lee out of Jackson, Mississippi. She went from making history as the first so-called Black American woman in her position to facing years in the federal penitentiary after she was caught red-handed agreeing to accept money for real estate developers to gentrify the community. We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. Shout out to Jackson, Mississippi. If you're watching from the area, drop Jackson below in the comments.
I'm Angelique Lee, and I'm asking for your vote to become the first African-American female to represent Ward 2 on the Jackson City Council.
City Girl Councilwoman Lee was once a teacher in Houston, Texas, and Harlem, New York, before moving back to Jackson, Mississippi, where she worked in director positions at Tougaloo College and Jackson State University. In her political ad, she called herself African American and said she will be the first African American woman to be a council member in Ward 2. Her mother was Filipino and her father has a Mexican background. You can trace her daddy's family back to Mexico. Her great-grandfather was a Mexican immigrant who had to set up shop in the Black American community because that's who welcomed them back then during segregation. As a result, her family was involved in the civil rights movement, supporting people like Fannie Lou Hamer and Medgar Evers. She ran as an African-American woman in Mississippi to make a, quote, historic moment. Her family is most proud of her Mexican heritage. They don't seem to talk much about their Asian roots. Her mother, born in Manila, Philippines, she finished high school in France and went to a historically Black college in Jackson, Mississippi. The same college her daughter Angelique will one day work, Tougaloo College. Her mom also pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha, which is also not surprising. I've said this over and over, and some people still don't understand. HBCUs are not just for Black people, and all members of Black Greek organizations are not Black. Miss Lee is definitely an example of that. A Filipino woman born in the Philippines attended a black college, and joined the historic black sorority, aka. She was all about education, excellence, and eventually retired as a principal of an elementary school. So Angelique, mixed with her mom's background and her dad's Mexican heritage, it was much more advantageous to run for office as a Black American woman because she was in a majority Black city. She also wanted to join the wave of other Black American women elected in 2020 and 2021. As you all know, there was a whole movement, especially in local government. City Girl Councilwoman Angelique Lee was elected as a single mother of two that ran on making a change for Jackson residents. She hit a bump in the road in 2023 when she was arrested on DUI charges.
Well, a Jackson City Councilwoman is apologizing after being arrested for DUI. Ward 2's Angelique Lee was pulled over in June of last year. It was after a Madison police officer says he smelled a strong odor of marijuana coming from her car. In an incident report, that officer said he was driving behind her when he initially smelled it. The officer says he then noticed her driving over the line, and that's when he pulled her over. He says he saw marijuana paraphernalia in her car. Lee pled guilty to DUI but was not convicted. Lee says the incident is a learning experience for her and a cautionary tale for others. She went on to say that she will continue to work hard for the city of Jackson and sincerely apologize for any disappointment that was caused by her decision.
Angelique entered a guilty plea. However, she avoided prosecution altogether, using her political relationship with the local prosecutor. Unfortunately for Angelique, it's one group her local ties at the city and county level couldn't save her from. That's the FBI.
Well, it has, in fact, been a very dramatic day here at the federal courthouse for Angelique Lee. She spent much of the day before two different judges, a magistrate and the chief district judge. She told the judge that she knew right from wrong and that it was wrong for her to take bribes. Now, here is what prosecutors accuses her of doing. According to that bill of criminal information, Lee accepted cash deposits and other gifts from an unnamed person described as unindicted co-conspirator A. The documents say Lee agreed to shut down a road and vote to approve a real estate development for a hotel at the Jackson Convention Complex. The fictitious deal involved two undercover FBI agents who pretended to be real estate developers from Nashville, Tennessee, who wanted to invest in that project. Now, Lee agreed to have the road, which was unnamed in the court documents, to be closed, and she would later cast votes at the council meeting in favor of that hotel development, again in exchange for thousands of dollars. Now, according to the document, this past February, Lee accepted $10,000 in electronic transfer to pay off a portion of her campaign debt. And then in March, she took $3,000 for personal use. Also in March, the undercover agents described as confidential human source 1 and 2 allowed Lee to use their credit card to spend $6,000 at a luxury retail store in Jackson. Federal prosecutors say Lee funneled some of the money to a bank account owned or controlled by that unindicted co-conspirator. We spoke with her attorney outside the courthouse after she pleaded guilty.
Good people make bad decisions at times, but I must say that for her to come in and take full responsibility for her actions says a lot about her and her character. And so this is a tough chapter for her, and hopefully this is the beginning phase of rehabilitating her character for her constituents and for the people of Jackson, and she wishes the city continued growth and success.
Now, Lee will remain free on a $10,000 unsecured bond. She's scheduled to be sentenced on November 13th. Federal prosecutors filed that sentencing recommendation under seal, so we don't know how much time they're recommending or any possible jail time they're recommending for her guilty plea this afternoon. I can tell you that Chief Judge Dan Jordan reminded Lee that by pleading guilty and agreeing to be sentenced, she will give up her right to vote, her right to serve on a jury, and indeed her right to serve in public office. It's rather a turn of events for a woman who just one day ago was Jackson's city councilwoman, Ward 2. For now, we're live at the federal courthouse in downtown. Ross Adams, 16 WAPT News.
I'm going to cut it short there for time consideration, but I think we get the gist of what was kind of done here. And we also get the gist of what the racial makeup of this particular woman is too. And I have a theory on why we get duped by these types of folks. Maybe I'll talk about it later. Particularly women who look like this, we get duped for a particular reason. Who do I start with now? Let me start with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, what say you?
I knew you were gonna pick me first. I knew it. But anyways, so going back to what Kwame Ture said, always, Black visibility is not Black power. Now, I would say this woman herself is kind of blackfishing. Based on her, I didn't hear no type of African, Caribbean, nothing in her ancestry, right? Very attractive lady. I'm not gonna lie. However, Black visibility is not Black power. Just because you put a person who appears to be Black, or say they're Black, okay, for argument's sake, let's say she's Black. She's straight from the motherland, okay? You know, she just light skinned, whatever. Even if you put that person, does not necessarily mean they're going to uphold the interests of Black people, because ideology is the most important thing. I know, well, I won't say most important thing, because, you know, going back to Garvey did say race first, right? And he was correct. But he didn't say race only, okay? You can't just stop you Black and that's it. We got to have some we got to follow up with that. Right? Yeah, you're Black. What's your ideology? Okay, that's important to me. Just saying you Black is not enough. And we see that in too many cases. These people are out for their own agendas, their own desires, and who gives a shit about the community? Jackson, Mississippi right now is undergoing a crisis in their water system, where it is extreme, like the water is so contaminated. And Jackson is a majority Black city. Now there's the city nearby Jackson, I think it's Hattiesburg or something like that. They're not having this problem. But here is state of that officials, instead of dealing with the crisis that is afflicting, I think it's like an 80% Black city, here she is out here shopping, doing credit card debt. You know, city girl shit, like Pink Book says. What are we talking about right here? Going to a HBCU, being a soror, that means absolutely nothing. That means nothing. If your politics, if your actions, if your ideology does not align with that would benefit the masses of Black people, the masses of African people, okay, fuck your Blackness. It's cosplay. You might as well dress up like Spider-Man and go to Comic-Con, because that's all it is. It's a joke. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Real Black Gentleman, what say you?
Well, I wasn't sure. I kind of got caught up. My bad. But I mean, when you, my bad. I kind of got caught up and got distracted. You might want to let someone else go.
She is bad. I know. I get it. She is kind of bad. Real deal.
Let's go to Kofi next. Kofi, what say you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna double down on what everyone's saying. Like, I thought she was Black. there was like no, like, wow, this is not a Rachel Dolezal situation. She was cosplaying as Black, so this I don't know. She's cosplaying as Black, but at the same time, it said that she said she was Black because when her parents first moved in and came to America in the civil rights era, you know, they lived with Black people, so does it look like they felt a kinship with Black people, right? So they were part of the whole civil rights movement and things like that, which is commendable. But but just be real though, you know what I'm saying? Just be real. But you know what it is? You know, us Black people, you know what I'm saying? You know, especially us fellas, you're like, nah, she kind of bad. And she don't even, and she looked Black. So, you know, Black people, we accept, even if she wasn't Black, we would accept it. But, you know, it's very easy for her to be a part of Black society because she kind of looks phenotypically Black. The gentrification thing, that is that is the thing that kind of hurts me the most, because if you're gonna say, hey, look, I have a kinship with black people, I grew up around black people, my parents were a part of civil rights era and stuff like that. Let's say I let that go, right? But the whole part that you're taking bribes to gentrify a neighborhood, a black neighborhood, and things like that, that's no good. Like I was I was like on Flatbush Avenue, for all you Brooklynites that know anything, right? I have to go Flatbush to get something. We all know it's nothing but Jews, Arabs, some black people, Caribbean people own certain stores, some African own certain stores, but like, so anyway, I was walking by because I was in the market looking for a home, and I saw some guy asking him about the storefront. It said for rent. And I said, well, how much did he ask you? Because he's asking for the building. He's like, nah, he's not trying to sell. Some Asian guy. He's like, nah, he's not trying to sell me the building. He just wants to rent that space. I'm like, typical, right? Long story short, he's trying to have me buy a home, like a 4-family home. I was like, I don't want to buy a 4-family home, and I don't want to be a landlord or whatever. And he's like, don't worry about it. I got a place. You could just, unfortunately, he's Guyanese. He was like, nah, just rent it to white people. Just rent it to them. You don't have to worry about that. Like saying, oh, black people don't pay their rent and stuff like that. Just hire these white people that's coming into the neighborhood that's being gentrified, hire them. And I'm looking at him like, So again, greed is something that is human nature. Is not synonymous to just black people, white people, Asian people, Mexicans, or whatever, stuff like that. But the fact that, I'm glad she was called out for what she did, and I'm glad she was exposed for not being quote unquote black. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say she was perpetrating exactly what Dolezal did. Just to be clear, I was saying that there's a commonality with these types, and really and truly, and you guys are hitting on it too, is the looks, and in particular is the shape. Rachel Dolezal has a body on her that you don't really expect of a white woman. So by the time she wears the kinky wig, tan her skin, and she puts on some tight jeans and heels, you're gonna think you're gonna say, you know what, she okay, I guess she's black.
Yeah, like a Carrie type shit.
I'm sorry, say that again, Kofi.
I said like a Mariah Carey type chick, like, oh, she's probably half black or whatever, something like that.
Right, Creole or some shit like
yeah.
we talked about recently. Yeah, so we get caught up. We look at the body and the shape and the looks, and we kind of say, oh, that must be a black woman, because there's no white woman typically built like that. With that said, let me go back to RBG, but keep it brief for me, RBG. What say you to all of this?
Yeah, I mean,
the gentrification stuff she's involved in. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, it is. It's just the mask, the black mask, white faces. It's just she has the veneer of blackness. You know what I'm saying? She can kind of keep in rhythm to a degree. You know what I'm saying? She can keep a rhythm. She can keep a sense of cultural tempo, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? It's the edges, the ethnic edges. You know what I'm saying? All the things that, like, of course it's her, just making the play and just trying to pose and posture. It's all pose and posture. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, like, keeping that veneer and keeping that at arm's distance veneer. You know what I'm saying? It's never close. It's always arm's distance. Once you get closer, you know what I'm saying, you can just break through and expose that person for what they are. They're just like holding up something. You know what I'm saying? They're not really there. And once you realize that they're holding up something, half of their energy is always going to be holding that thing up. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say. Like I said, this is the AOC of the South.
Appreciate that, RBG. Like Afro World said too, I was going to mention this. She could be Afro. She could be of Afro-Mexican descent too. They didn't really give that idea in this thing, but she could be. With that said, let's hear from Oni next on this.
Yeah, they really should have showed a picture of her dad or something. Because I mean, not to say, but like, obviously she looks more on the mixed side. And obviously another thing is that in America, like, anybody could claim to be black. And it's like, yeah, you're black. You know what I mean? There were a couple of times when I was sitting. I remember one time when I was in Harlem, and I think I saw Glenn Ford, the guy who was, I think it was like Black Agenda Report, right? And he was talking, and then me and his brother was sitting there, and we were like, "Is he black?" You know, like we didn't even know. Like we was just kind of confused. So yeah, in America, like even recently, I saw this video of some lady who was like, "Man, we black women, we just got to go get the white man." And you're just looking at her like, I don't even know if she's black, but it is what it is. As far as this story, as far as the take, actually, why are black people running on the? Because black people are Democrats, and I mean, I'm not saying that as an insult, you know, because obviously I'm from New York City. I'm a Democrat too. You know what I mean? like I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, hide that. You know, I just don't shill for the Democrats, and I'm tired of, you know, politicking, you know, politics all the time. Like it's a tired issue for me, but like, yeah, because we're Democrats, and if you are a part of one of these political parties, you vote down the line pretty much 9 times out of 10. So, you know, it's just like, you know, I mean, obviously not to rehash that last conversation, but most people are going to, if you're a registered Democrat in particular for this particular election, national election, you're probably going to go to the ballot and look at everything and just vote down the line. And that's what it is. If you win your primary, which is, you know, what Kamala did and whatever, but if you win your primary, you pretty much win the election if your party is going to win, you know? And that's kind of what it is. So the question being, why do we keep voting? Because we're Democrats. And the reality is that the Democrats sabotage third party efforts, and there's no way to have third party victories. No, they sabotage small term third party candidates, and of course large third party candidates just can't win in America because of the Electoral College. So but on a small scale, like for instance, when we were running in the Freedom Party in New York State, we were sabotaged. And it's like it's well known, but that's what it is. It's like if you're going to vote, chances are you're going to vote for whoever's on the ballot. Who's on the ballot, and basically the ballots are written by the two political parties, depending on how powerful the two political parties are in that state, city, or what have you. So if you're talking about Jacksonville, Mississippi, you're talking about a Democratic Party, and there's just no opposition. There's no opposition. Why? Because very few black people are going to vote for the Republicans because the Republicans are overtly racist. The Republicans are overtly anti-black. It's very, very difficult to get black people to go for the party, or the party with the members or the policies that are overtly anti-black. So if there's only 2 political parties and one of them is overtly anti-black, black people will probably vote for the opposition because we are frightened every election about, oh my gosh, this other person, you see how racist this person is, you see how this blah blah blah, and we're just going to keep doing it. And again, I'm saying that as a person who's a registered Democrat, and the reason why I'm a registered Democrat is because if you're not a registered Democrat, you can't vote in the Democratic primaries. But again, Democrats don't even need a primary, so it doesn't even matter. But the point is, yeah, the reason why they voted this woman in is because she ran on the Democratic ticket, and it's as simple as that.
Appreciate that, Oni. With that said, I guess that leaves us to Buana. Buana, what would you like to add to this conversation?
Oh God, man, these brothers is hey, bro, man, y'all notorious bloviators, man. Yo, give it 2 minutes sometimes, man, because I gotta wait to hear y'all drone on. Needless to say, first of all, let me say that this whole thing of fake black people. Now I hear this term thrown about, bantered about sometimes, and I have to wonder what do people mean by that? Because I've heard it extended towards Kamala Harris and people who racial backgrounds may be sometimes notoriously ambiguous. People may not know, or people may be limited in not knowing, because sometimes black people in some places may not know that there exist black people in other places where they may not expect them to. And what I mean by that is when you see a Mexican face, you usually see the face of maybe a white person or a white adjacent person. You don't usually see a very black person or a black person. But there are Africans who was carried to Mexico, and there were African Americans who left America to go to Mexico. So there is a very large black population within Mexico. And some of these people who you may presume may be traditionally Mexican, just look at their grandmothers. Just look at their grandmas. You know, they do have black and African ancestry, you know, and also the Philippines as well. And also the Philippines as well. And now when you get into America, some people believe and think that blackness is only confined to the African American experience, but that's not necessarily true or even accurate. Not geographically, not historically. It's just not accurate, you know. And I think that she shouldn't pose on a politically. She shouldn't say that she is African American because that has a political understanding within America. So I would understand why African Americans would be upset about that. But to suggest that she is a black person, I'm saying, oh, maybe not. Maybe not. No, I ain't complaining about you, and I complain about everybody. So I'm saying maybe not. She may just verily be black, not a fake black person, an actual black person, and that's why she's standing on what she's standing on. You know, I know you see a Filipino mom, but nobody sees the grandmother, who may be a black woman from the Philippines. Yeah, we all over the world, all over the world. You know, the second thing with this issue of gentrification, I wonder about that term in terms of America. Because I hear this thing about the civil rights movement, and I hear this thing about wanting to be accepted and accepted into white society or considered to be equal. So there should be no issues of a black neighborhood within America. That right was given away through the civil rights movement when blacks in America vied for integration. So what happened in integration is the covenants that said that no black person can live within this neighborhood, that facilitated white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods. All those things was legally struck down, and these things was fought for by African Americans. So now the issues where these neighborhoods are becoming gentrified. That's what happens with integration. There should be no white or black neighborhoods, just neighborhoods. You decided to become Americans. You didn't decide to vie for segregation or separation. You decided to vie within the civil rights movement for integration. So now there should be no issues now. There should be no issues now. So I'm saying that is the process of gentrification. They're trying to do away with the whole black and white and Mexican neighborhoods. Any American should be permitted to live anywhere within America legally under the law. You know, so I think that these things should be discussed from time to time. But as far as her breaking the law, if she do commit the crime, well, she gonna do the time. She gonna go to jail. She gonna go to jail. And as Oni was suggesting before, he is very right about that. Historically, African Americans of recent have voted under the Democratic ticket. Up to 90%. Up to 90% of black voters within America have voted under the Democratic ticket. So I don't expect this scenario to be different where black people are going to decide to vote against her. Because historically, currently, not back in the day when blacks in America were Republicans, but currently right now, this has been the course for the black American vote. They have been voting democratically. So you shouldn't be so surprised that black people continue to vote voted for this woman or voting under the Democratic ticket. You know, that's just how it is. But I'll leave it there, and I'll just leave it there.
Okay, thank you for that, Buana. In the spirit of brevity, anyone with any last thoughts can go ahead, but please keep it brief. I want to get to at least one more topic.
I would only say this: black people vote Democrat. There's a reason for that, right? Like Oni said, the Republicans are openly racist. So in many cases, I think it was fair, and sometimes we really, unfortunately, only really see these two choices. And another thing too, I don't know how the sister, I'm gonna call her sister. Had to catch myself for a second. How this young woman, how she ran her campaign. Did she, what promises she was making? What was her platform? So I don't know how she ran the campaign. But to Juana's point, as far as what we look at as black. You're right. Sometimes, especially with African Americans, you have a idea of what black people supposed to look like and whatnot. But just look at this lady. I don't think she had any black nothing in her, did she? I mean, again, all I heard was Filipino. You know, I didn't hear anything about her being black. No Africa, no nothing. She could pass. She fooled a lot of people. She would have fooled me if I didn't know any better. But I think that's something to be said. But I think more about her policies than anything else. Maybe that's what people voted for. Plus, her name's Angelique. How many Filipinos named Angelique? Come on now. All right, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I would just add that Democrats might be the big city party, and black people tend to be in the big cities. So that's another correlation that we're not really that we don't really talk about enough. But realistically, the Democrats tend to focus in the big cities, and we tend to be focused in the big cities as well. That's it.
One thing real quick. Yeah, even the Republicans are racist. So to beat up on black people now, saying that we vote Democrat because it was racist when black people were Republicans, that's like saying during slavery when we were able to vote, you're going to beat up on Republicans. They should be Democrats. It's like, of course, no one's gonna do anything like that. Also, the civil rights era is like Martin Luther King didn't fight for us just to integrate with white people. As Americans, we're all Americans, and he wanted segregation to not be a thing no more, where you cannot get services because we're taxpayers. You can't get certain services. You can't get certain things because of the color of your skin. Martin Luther King never said leave your own businesses. So when people, so we didn't ever gave up our neighborhoods per se. Is white ice colder? Yes, but Martin Luther King never fought for us. Civil rights was never about leaving our neighborhoods and leaving our businesses. That's it.
All right. With that, let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 4, which will be the last topic of the night. I didn't check this video beforehand. I hope this is not a long-winded video. Shooter Breeze topic number 4 says, what exactly is a Bantu versus a Negritic speaker? What do these terms mean in reality? They are linguistic titles. This came with a link that takes us back to X, which takes us to a tweet from Camjiverse that says, not really. Every day is considered quote-unquote Bantu changes. It's really a shit show and speaks to the Toby consciousness among Negroes. I guess it's a response to something else. Anyway, let me play this video and then we'll discuss it. It's taking me to another site. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let's get this together. Let me make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Yep. All right. So we'll watch this about twice or 3 times. Make sure we get the point. Then we'll discuss it.
Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, Khoisan. These are white categories. And if you would allow that to define historical African populations without adequate comparative historical reconstruction, your identity is white-owned. There's a lot of black folk out there who have a Toby consciousness because they would allow white folk to define them. Bantu, Niger-Congo, Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, Khoisan. These are white categories. And if you would allow that to define historical African populations without adequate comparative historical reconstruction, your identity is white-owned. There's a lot of black folk out there who have a Toby consciousness because they would allow white folk to define them. Bantu, Niger-Congo, Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, Khoisan. These are white categories. And if you would allow that to define historical African populations without adequate comparative historical reconstruction, your identity is white-owned. There's a lot of black folk out there who
All right, so that was a short. I went back and looked at it. That was a response to a X marks the spot tweet. He said, when white people say the Cape was uninhabited when the Dutch settlers arrived in South Africa, that's because they didn't consider the Sand people, whom they encountered in the Cape, as humans. Europeans classified them as native fauna, and permits were issued to hunt them. So this is a response to the fact that Great House pretty much use the terminology Sand people. And I guess Kamji's thing is, why would you let this European name you and go along with those classifications when in fact this in particular, this Bantu versus Negritic speaker, is just linguistic titles. These are not the actual titles of the people. So I just wanted to add a little depth to it. With that said, I'm not going to go to Black Steel. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go to Buana this time. Buana, what say you?
Boy, I am happy and humbled that the person who put this prompt up believed that we have the ability to answer this kind of question. For me, it's really a little bit beyond me. So I'll have to pass it on to a person who could clearly be able to understand, define this and analyze this in a way that'll be suitable to a person who is listening. Because I don't want to just ramble, because this is a little bit of beyond me. So I'll just pass on this one.
All right. And if Trigger Happy is into this topic as well, if you're still in the chat, brother, you could chime in, give us some more to kind of feed off of as we try to go through this conversation here. Real Black Gentleman, what would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I can be real quick about this. They're just saying that the way that they organize this, these white people organize the languages that they perceive is kind of that is really crass in the labels that they use to describe the languages are very imprecise and whatnot. That's as if I look at Europe and I talk about the Germanic speaking peoples and the Romance speaking peoples and think about it like that and not to see national boundaries, kingdoms, empires and all that, and ignore any kind of political intricacies of any kind. You understand what I'm saying? Did I make it clear?
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, that's as simple as, the Slavic speaking peoples. And if I were to, just go in there and just make assessments about how people talk and blah, blah, blah. That's all it is. Quick, fast, and hurry.
All right. Let's hear from Oni this time. Oni, what say you?
No, actually, RBG kind of said it, it's as if Bantu is just, somebody had a hypothesis about a particular demographic, with a historical legacy of, let's say, iron working and fire and all that kind of stuff. And it just might not be an accurate assessment of the continent given the more recent anthropological and genetic data, which is, I think, as even Buana said, might just be above our pay grade if we're not really studied on the subject matter. So I mean, again, I try to avoid the word Bantu, get it out of my lexicon. Thanks to Kamjiverse, but it is a pretty. But yeah, it is a very well entrenched idea that we don't. But it's kind of cool that he's going against it. That's it.
Appreciate that, Oni. Yeah, I took the same thing from Real Black Gentleman too. In the chat, Trigger Ivy 262 Plus says basically when I read that thread, there are people on Twitter who really believe there are a Bantu people and that they migrated precisely from Cameroon, but this is literally not attested. He goes on to say, but the more dangerous thing we need to focus on is Bantu is used for tribalism in Central Africa. That's what is dangerous. It's also used to justify apartheid in South Africa. Trigger, you can continue to elaborate while I go to the others here. Oh, he just added one more comment. He said it gets disappointing When Great House fights white supremacists, but he uses white supremacist terms to fight them, he needs to abandon Bantu entirely. Much appreciated, Trigger Happy. Afro Native World says he's met Africans who self-identify as Bantu, which is weird. But then again, they're just as miseducated as we are. So I guess it's par for the course. With that said, let me hear from Kofi. Kofi, what say you?
Yeah, I'm into linguistics, but I'm not too much into this. So I'm not going to really talk it linguistically, but I'm going to speak to something that I do know of because this is a common trend. So you're talking about Bantu people like Cameroon. So you got to understand when white people go to a place, most of the times they rename everything, right? So Cameroon, that region, that's a French word. It's not Cameroon. You go to the Great Lakes region in East Africa, it has English names. Oh, Lake Victoria, and then like this is something that they do. You know what I'm saying? So right now, so what's another name on pygmy, right? That's a derogatory name for oh my gosh, forgot the name of those people, for the Twa people, right? So this is something that they do all the time. They rename everything. Nigeria is supposed to be Niggerland. But originally, if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be, it was Yoruba land, but they called it Nigeria, right? Nigerians still call their country Nigeria. They have full control of the image and the name of the country, but let's just keep it Nigeria, even though they know that's just name Niggerland. That's not the original name. But here in America is unique. In America, they didn't change everything. Some has English names, Dutch names, French names, stuff like that. But when we go to like the Midwest and West Coast, places like Nevada, Omaha, Ohio, all those are Native American names. The white people have not changed those names. To me, that's kind of like a middle finger to the Native Americans. You're like, you know what? We're not even going to change shit. We're going to keep Nebraska, Nebraska. We're going to keep Omaha, Omaha. We're going to keep all those Native American names. But guess what? The land is ours. So this is a common theme. This is a common thread that that Europeans do. You know, this is in their playbook of Manifest Destiny, or in Spanish, Manifest Destino. This is something that they all do. So, but we have to, again, Dr. Clark said something to the effect, I don't want to, like, I'm not going to say it verbatim, I don't want to butcher it, but everything you think you've learned, relearn it again. Because most of the things that we think we know was taught to us. We didn't learn for ourselves. So I think that's what colonized people have to do as a whole, so we could, be whole again. That's it.
I appreciate that addition there, Kofi. I too always wonder, you're Nigeria, for example. You have control, as Kofi said, you have control of the land. You have control. Change the goddamn name. We've seen other African leaders change the names of their country, right? Burkina is an example of it, right? Like, change the name. Like, you guys still have Lake Victoria? It's just insanity to me. But I digress. Last but not least, Black Steel, what exactly is a Bantu versus a Nigritic speaker? What do these terms mean in reality? They are linguistic titles. What did you take from it, Black Steel?
The way I interpreted it, right? I think they're really referring to like language families. So I guess they're trying to analyze the different languages and how they're related to one another. For example, you have Indo-European, right? You have Germanic languages, and I guess they're trying to identify which language family. So, like in how Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, these are all considered to be Romance languages or Latin languages because Latin is their root. You have the Germanic languages like Germany and English and Swedish because they all belong to that family. And in the U.S. you have the Algonquin speaking languages, so those Native Americans from that area, and then you have the Siouan languages. So basically, I think what they're doing is just trying to classify language families, how these languages are related and connected to one another. Because I believe that they're seeing some similarities. within the linguistic groups. That's how I've always interpreted it. When they say Nigritic or Bantu, I think they're just referring to the language speakers, or whether or not these languages are related. How many loan words do these languages have between them? How old are these languages? Which one was first? Which one was second? You know, so that's kind of how I always interpreted that. Um, as far as what a Bantu is, I couldn't tell you. I honestly, you know, I guess my Pan Africanism is complete because I see a black person is a black person. I don't care what language you speak. You know, you look like you could be my cousin. Um, you're on the continent. So to me, I think these distinctions. I understand the need to kind of understand languages, but so also to me, these distinctions, I think, ultimately don't really mean anything in the big scheme of things. So our enemy sees us all as one big nigga. Ultimately, they don't care what language we speak at the end of the day, and I'm okay with that as far as the language groups and everything. I think it's interesting. I think it does serve a purpose, but I don't hear people. I'm a not great speaker. I've never heard that before. All right, but I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Trigger IP262 says, I think we have to get to the point that if our languages cut across language families, it's more likely that there's one big family as opposed to these fake language families. So yeah, I guess the idea, and I like that Black Steel brought up being Pan-African, is that, you know, let's get rid of the divisions, especially divisions that these white folks created. Let's just get out of it and let's just be, you know, the one big family. Bantu, as I understood it, meant black people. I see Gong's arc said Bantu is similar to Negro, pronounced Negro, and now Sub-Saharan. That is, it's a European created identity for Africans they consider of a certain phenotype, to which Great House responded, no one in Africa cares about that. Bantu cultural festivals are proudly celebrated across Africa yearly. Europeans are not the arbiters of African identity. That's an interesting last sentence he used there. Europeans not the arbiter when you're talking about something that they literally created. So it's an interesting concept. With that, though, that's going to be the last topic for tonight. The last topic we had would have been tribalism can be combated with a thorough educational system all over Africa, which would have kind of gone well with this topic, but unfortunately time has run out. We got Oni who's still here with us. Has to be like 6 o'clock in the morning where he is now. So we'll end it here. Before everyone leaves the panel, let's get some shout outs done this week. Let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
I don't think I have too many shout outs this week. Shout out to everybody who showed up, especially Oni. I know it's late where you are, but you still managed to come out here and participate, man. So big up to you. Big up to you. Great show this week.
Yeah, you just beat me to both things. Great show this week, and shout out to Oni for sitting here with us tonight. Speaking of Oni, what would you like to shout out?
No, yeah, big up to me too. No, I'm joking. Big up to everybody. But yeah, it's 6 a.m. I don't know how you knew it was 6 a.m. But yeah, it's 6 a.m. So yeah, just I just want to say that it's cool that I was able to get out of America before the Civil War. Good luck to everybody who's good luck to everybody. You know, shoot some people in between the eyes for me. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, and thanks everybody for this discussion. And hopefully, you know, I can make it next week. Although the internet is pretty expensive right now, but I put the expense in, so it's all good. All right, everybody.
Y'all subscribe to Oni's channel and find his Cash App. Y'all hit up the Cash App. Help the brother out so that he could bring his knowledge on the airwaves, the digital airwaves of YouTube under the KWAZ banner, KWAZ radio banner. So hit him up, help him out as well. With that said, Real Black Gentleman, what would you like to shout out this week?
Just shouting out everyone who's holding it down. You know what I'm saying? maintaining with their dreams and one foot in front of the other, you know what I'm saying? Just got wax on and wax off, you know what I'm saying? I just big up to everyone, you know what I'm saying? Koku, everyone, you know what I'm saying, who spoke. Just, you know what I'm saying, to stay black, you know what I'm saying? That's all I can say, man. Just, you know what I'm saying, just, keep your eyes open, you know what I'm saying? Look out for that whirlwind. That's all I'm gonna say.
Look out for the whirlwind. I appreciate that. Last but not least, Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yes. So I shout out to all my brothers on the panel who have, and I mean this, and I know I say it a lot, and I know you all hear me say that, but it's not really taken in as a very frivolous thing. I kind of analytical sometimes when I observe things, and the fact that the brothers cut out a swath of time between the hours of 8 and 11 o'clock on every Saturday, for me, that speaks volumes. It speaks about uniformity. It speaks about consistency. It speaks about organization. There's something to say within that. My brother from New York City, he calling from Tanzania. Tanzania at 6 o'clock in the morning. That is big for me. That shows a level of just consistency, man. And he understands that this show has a level of worth to it, and he brings, although he's a notorious bloviator, he brings many different kinds of things to the show that I believe has much value. Very smart and intelligent brother. Shout out to my brother RBG. RBG, sometimes he's have some jewels in the things that he says, and he's been consistent. All my brothers, Jose Bronze listens from wherever he is in the world, because sometimes he's in the Netherlands, sometimes he's in Africa. All my brothers, big up to Black Steel. It's all love. Kofi, we disagree because me and Kofi could talk about how Harlem gave away Harlem to white folks. So we can discuss that later politically. But shout out to Kofi and you too, Koku. You are the quarterback of the Bitter Meds, and you have been quarterbacking for a long time and really making the show run. Shout out to Trigger Happy and all my sisters who also are listening. I may not have called your names tonight. I wish you all would join the panel from time to time to give some of that source perspective. But shout out to all of the sisters who are listening under the sound of my voice. Thank you for being consistent, and thank you for making the show run as well. So I'll leave it there, Koku. And until next time, bro.
Yes, sir. Thanks for being here. But I didn't mean to forget Kofi. Kofi, last but not least, Kofi, what would you like to shout out this week?
I'll say to my eldest son, he started college a week ago, and I miss him, and I'm very proud of him. So he's doing big things.
Good stuff, man. Congrats to that. Yeah, I guess we're all in that. Well, not all, but I guess you and I are in that age where we got kids going off to school and stuff. So, I tip my hat to you too.
I want to say one thing before we leave. I want to I know it's not a positive shout out, but I want to remember that young man who was killed in that school shooting in Georgia this week. He was a young autistic brother, and this cracker showed up in the school. Apparently, the boy had been targeted by the FBI, and the police told his dad he was making threats. So in response, the dad buys him an AR-15 for Christmas. They like both of them locked up. But shout out to that young brother who lost his life, man. Rest in peace to him. It should never have happened. I know it's not anything positive, but I just want to remember that young man who was just trying to live his life and go to school.
Remembrance is positive, and we should keep our eye on that case too. They're charging that father with the crime of the son on some levels. We got to keep an eye on that. We could talk about that more on Shoot the Breeze in the future. Anyway, we're done for the night. We'll be back again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 11 p.m. Thank you, everyone who was here tonight. Thank you, everyone who was here in the chat. We'll see you soon. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the network, Brother Bakari, The Forecast, Consider Cheek, which is Realm in the Bush, and The Matron, the Revolutionary Matron of that. Check out all the other shows. Check out Oni. Check out myself and Hash Reality Podcast. And last but not least, check out Kofi, the Black Critic. I'll see you guys next week. You guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.